at the big desk.
Hey guys, yeah, a couple hours left. Let's get you into the long weekend here. Yeah, it's kind of a flat day for the overall market. Unfortunately, not a lot of action, but lots to talk about as far as what is happening. We get this additional inflation data this morning in the form of PPI. This one, unlike what happened yesterday, comes in better than expected. If you missed it way back at 8:30 this morning, PPI showing a little bit of a downtick versus that decent sized uptick we got from CPI this week as well. Overall, the market, yeah, kind of flat, but lots of things moving around here as far as individual movers. You heard the midday talking a lot about this one. Tesla trying to bounce here. I was just hearing a note actually on Tesla. Just coming through, talking about price action. Anyway, 218 trying to hold here. It's been tested a couple of times. Ton of volume behind this move today. And again, all because of, well, we'll touch on it coming up here, all because of potential supply chain issues hurting Tesla because of this escalation and what's happening over in the Red Sea. The Berlin Gigafactory going to shut down for a couple of weeks. So no cars coming out of Berlin for the remainder of January, it would appear. UNH as well, another one standing out on this board, very, very red. 3.5% downside coming off earnings. Their forecast missing estimates was a little bit light. We'll get into the banks as well. Obviously, a ton of earnings from the banks today. WFC, the worst off here, 3.25% for Wells Fargo. Morgan Stanley red, BAC red, JP Morgan was green. It has since gone red, only just though, kind of flat. Citigroup holding on to a decent move today. 1.5% back to the upside. Back to the upside for this one as well. Meta, nice day, 1.3. Microsoft, full percent. Still some positivity from Google and Apple. NVIDIA lagging a little bit behind. Broadcom today having a nice day, 0.6%. AMD, Intel, Qualcomm. You get the picture. It's kind of a chop fest overall for the market. This is what JPM's looking at right now anyway. Still positive, but only just. 0.2 to the upside. We held on to 170 here, which is a pretty key level for the overall daily chart on JP Morgan. JC Perret's going to come through this afternoon from All-Star Charts. CMT is going to give us a look at some of the banking earnings that we got today and then what to expect going into next week. We'll talk to him about some of the tech earnings as well as they get closer. Remember, February 1st, I was noting a couple days ago, is going to be the big one. A lot of the major tech names, basically Thursday, February 1st. That's also the week we get, oh yeah, by the way, the Fed. So mark that one down. That week's going to be a little bit spicy overall. But yeah, bank earnings were the main key this morning. Let's jump into what we were talking about. If you're with us in the first hour, we got you set for the morning. Again, it was Citigroup, it was Wells Fargo, it was JP Morgan. We'll get into Goldman Sachs coming up next week, I saw. But overall, I mean, kind of mixed as far as the numbers are concerned versus forecast, depending on who you look at. There was a lot of charges, including on JP Morgan, $2+ billion taken in relation to the bank failures that happened earlier in the year and them absorbing a few of those. So JP Morgan back to basically flat here, guys.
So a couple of things, man. JC in the house tonight. Look, obviously, you guys will all stay tuned for that. That'll be in just about an hour because it's a start of power hour. But I just saw in the chat here, see Fraz. Wow, this channel has grown crazy. You're absolutely right. Sometimes I sit back and I'm amazed and we're humbled by it as well. So thank you guys for being here. John Reinhardt, literally the first thing I saw when I logged back into the chat for the afternoon stream was, you're saying you like JPM to the short side here. I don't really disagree. Now, this morning, I had over-under 173 and only did the over part. Oops. Certainly the under 173 would have looked just as good. JP's the one to look at because A, it had the best run. B, it was at the most critical level. C, it's the biggest and the baddest. Record profits for 2023. Like, no one's ever made that much money in the U.S. bank. Ever. That's just how they roll. But it did fail a massive breakout at the open. So I'll let Obi talk about that. My mistake was when the over-under was done at 2073, I'll always limit the hit. Like, you're not going to see me hold it or anything like that. But there was a reversal at that 173 level. And why do I think it's also a short here off the 171? Opening range 10 o'clock bottom, 171.16. Previous support literally 2 days ago, the last 2 days, 171 and change. So you've got this resistance before and was support this morning. I like that short. Sometimes you get VWAP, but I think it's setting it up as well. I don't disagree. I'd like it to press into 171 before I would try the trade. I'm still in a couple of things that we like this morning, one of which is entirely predictable, and that's Affirm. The other is Lucid, which we're going to talk about some Lucid a few points this afternoon, because I had a long discussion with a lot of traders today about why that is the type of trade that a day trader should be on every single day until it stops working.
Yeah, that JPM, I didn't even realize the level you just pointed out there, Neil. Definitely a level for me to get a little more aggressive on the short, right at that. I see the double top now, right there at that 173.43 area-ish right here. But yeah, strong earnings today. Let me just pick this up so we can take a closer look. Strong earnings push today, pushing into all-time highs. We saw a lot of the other banks on watch as well. I was watching Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, of course JPM, and wasn't there one more? I think, yeah, those are the main four ones, and the rest of them were looking relatively weak to JPM. And now again, JPM pushing for all-time highs in the pre-market. I was watching this 175 with great interest, and I did have the idea to kind of go over under that 173 and the 175. And after I saw what it did with that 175, we did take that short. But yeah, Neil, that 73 and some change, it would seem that was a decent place when we came back in, opening range low plus that. Didn't really capture the move to its fullest potential here. No real reasons to cover. Looking back at it, I did fumble and I just pieced off of it, and then I stepped away from the desk. But as you can see, very, very clear downtrend on that move right there. No real reasons to sell until it goes a little sideways here on top of the 169. But yeah, some solid moves on banks. Now I'm also watching Citibank as well. Take a look at how Citibank kind of recovered pretty much all of its flush from the morning there. Some of the other banks lagging a little behind. BAC as well recovered most of its range. That's some interesting volume in the middle of the day, Neil. That's very interesting. Look at this shake and bake that happened midday right there around 11. But yeah, definitely lots of opportunities on the banks today with their earnings.
Checking on cannabis names, going a little crazy here right now. That MSOS, the ETF, making a pretty good move actually. Just ripped up through $8 on heavy volume. I don't see anything off top, but I'll keep an eye out. Just be aware. Cannabis names flying around. Yeah, let's talk about Tesla here. There's that MSOS, just real quick. Decent move here on pretty heavy volume as well. So heads up on weed heading into the weekend. 420 though.
Close. Yeah. 4 more months.
Yeah. A couple hours anyway. Tesla is suspending, as we said, production over in Berlin. It looks like it's going to be right through to the end of the month. So, I mean, they're going to miss out on, depending on how you look at it, almost 20,000 worth of, cars coming out of that Berlin Gigafactory. So it's been a rough couple of weeks here for the stock itself. And again, this all has to do with what's happening in the Red Sea and the escalation that happened overnight, unfortunately. Yeah, some things starting to feel that pressure, I guess.
I think going around the Horn of Africa is like another 10 days or something like that. So it's not very very efficient. The other headline for Tesla is the Chinese price. Is it increases? There were price increases in China, or are they cuts?
I didn't see that today.
What happens when you miss the morning, Bruno? It was one of the two. Yeah, I think it was a price decrease in China for the Model Y and the Model 3. So we'll have to continue to see whether margins get squeezed here. Not a good look for Tesla on the day. It hasn't been a good look for a week.
Yeah, downside for the past few days anyway. I'm still looking for anything on this cannabis bill. Oh, there it is, maybe. Biden cancels. Oh, no, that's student loans related. I'll keep looking. Neil, you see something?
The 12 state attorneys general, I should say it right, tell DA to reschedule marijuana as public safety imperative. So I got that one from Benzinga, but the website there, marijuanamoment.net, which I've never, I don't know, maybe that's a really reliable site. You guys tell me. I have no idea. That's just what I saw as a headline as MSOS moves. So I'm gonna read. This is hilarious because Sean does this every single day. I tend not to do it as often, but in my morning mix, I was like, but Tesla, between the Hertz sales citing lack of demand, the Berlin factory suspension, and some labor cost increases, it's under pressure. Failed the 200 SMA under 230, looking shorts. Popped to 225 to 227, or trend under 220. Still looking to short Rivian in sympathy on pops. Now, what you're going to notice, despite that being the idea that I started my day with, is Tesla popped in. There's 225, fail. Breaks 225, doesn't get anywhere near 227, fail again. But I didn't short it any time because, and there's a logic behind this. I shorted Rivian, tops 1880 down into 1810, and shorted Lucid at the top, and then held that for the entire day. And there's an analogy I like to give about this, because imagine a scenario where I told you for every basket that you get, you got to play basketball. The only rule is you have to play basketball. And for every basket you're going to get, I'm going to give you $1. And you're going to play for 1 hour. But you have the choice to play LeBron James, or me, or, I don't know, just like a random person that you met on the street. Now, I understand if you score buckets on LeBron James, you're going to get a lot of bragging rights and a lot of street cred and a lot of respect. But if you're getting paid per bucket, you better play the random person off the street. You'll probably beat me, but I played a little ball in my day. You just play the weakest opponent. And the weakest opponent are the EV names, and I know Rivian's been pretty decent. The weakest opponent's been Lucid. So I can't imagine if Tesla's under pressure and falling and having, I think, a red day, that Lucid's not going to be a short. And this is what Lucid's done over the last few days. So you have to ask yourself as a trader, do you want to be right? Do you want to be cool? Or do you just want to win? And if you're looking for shorts on an EV name, and this is not to pick on Lucid, the chart speaks for itself. I have nothing against them. I couldn't tell you anything about the specs. Randy can do all that good stuff for you. But look at the daily chart on this. You mean to tell me if Tesla pops and fades and Rivian pops and fades and Lucid pops and fades, which one do you have the most, which one do you think you want to take? It's up to you. It doesn't really matter. They all would have worked out. It's fine. But to me, like, this is the kind of thing where it's not going to last forever, really. So when it's there, you take advantage of it. I think it's more obvious when this is going to go squeezing and rip your faces off. It's essentially been giving you a short in the previous levels that you can just fade off of every single day. And until that stops working, I hope to be looking at this stock on a daily basis. I understand Rivian. I liked it off the 19 level. It gave the same thing. But look at the trend in these two. There's nothing wrong with the Tesla short. It would have worked if you shorted 225. I just feel as if it's a little bit easier of a trade to pick on these two names if that's what your options are. And as a day trader, your options are all over the place. And all of them make money. All of them were good setups. There's nothing wrong. You trade whatever works for you. So when you see me pivot to Rivian oftentimes, it's just because, or Lucid in that particular case, you just want to stay in your lane. And whatever works, works, man. In trading is hard enough without having to try to do something that doesn't fit you. That's why you might see me on these a little bit more often. But these EV names are in trouble. Yeah, the trend is true on all of them.
Oh, for sure, yeah. We talk about how Tesla is rejecting a multi-time frame levels in and around 260s, and we've only been pretty much selling off since then after we failed to follow through past that 265. Very strong sell-off, and every day you come into previous days structure. Sure, every now and then you have sideways days in the middle, the consolidation, right? Every healthy move, I think, definitely deserves some sort of consolidation, and if you're seeing it there, it is pretty healthy for the bigger picture move. But take a look at this. You come into yesterday's lows, very flat consolidation after the morning dump there. You rip right back up into that gap fill or whatever you want to call it, right? You fill that place, and right there at that 225, oh boy, that's a clean top, and that trend continues to the downside even on a Friday after a strong week of selling off. You can see on the weekly, you can see it pointed out a little bit better here, how strong we've been selling off of this potential triple top with descending highs there on Tesla, kind of a bigger picture move happening as well.
Before we go back to the desk, I also want to remind everybody that if you want a little bit more insight on what's going on with Tesla, The podcast was filmed last night. It still drops on Saturday. There were a lot of topics in there. Trust me, there's a lot that you're going to be able to dig yourself into. But that is still dropping tomorrow morning, despite the fact that it was taped last night. So there'll be a market recap tonight. The podcast was taped last night. You'll be able to catch that dropped 9 a.m. wherever you happen to get it. I always say that I get it on Spotify, but you can get it on Apple, watch it on YouTube. Do what you got to do. Cover your eyes if you don't like bad airline charts as we go to the desk to talk about some Delta.
Yeah, I was just noticing this daily chart, ugly to say the least here for Delta, still down better part of 8% on the day. Look at the volume behind this as well. I mean, highest volume day since, what is this, July, going back to the summer, so probably another earnings report. Yeah, it was not good. The forecast actually for free cash flow, a little bit higher than expected. I was just reading 3 to 4 billion over a 2 billion expectation, but everything else basically, including the Q4 guidance, not good here for DAL.
No, Brendo. Earnings per share full year outlook for 2024 reduced substantially, about $1 a share. They're citing supply chain issues and macroeconomic weakness. On the other side of the coin, what they are saying is that they're still seeing high demand, especially for the premium experiences. So if you're buying that first class, that business class, the lounges, they're still seeing a lot of demand for that, and that's where they make their money, Brendo. They don't make money on coach.
Agreed. Totally worth it, in my opinion, anyway. UAL down better part of 10% today as well. So it's actually Delta, not even the worst off here at this point. Just bounced off $40, trying to grind along the lows as well for all of them, essentially.
Yikes. I don't, like, there's literally a key that we have, which it's like our only one related to planes. We have two of them. One of them, I think it's like dropping money. I don't even know where is it. It's like this. Okay, well, you can't use that when talking about the airlines today because unless you're like throwing the money away.
Yeah, kind of like that door flying off on was it BA? Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing that great about it except for, hey, at the end of the day, you got to think about you just got to think about the momentum. I might have taken a shot at this long if I wasn't. I had a really good talk with some of the traders in the kitchen, or I guess like it's our little lunch space or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was, the market was slow. I don't think it was the right thing to do to try to catch the low, but it did work, at least for a scalp trade if you tried it. The short was just ridiculous at the open, and there were a couple of pops, but you know where we were looking in other places. So you could have taken this long off the bottom for a scalp trade. I let these things settle down. Generally speaking, the airlines are not bad in terms of finding places for swing trades long. Like they're good swing stocks, right? Because when they make a bottom and show you a trend, they trend well. So you just had earnings, you're in the middle of nowhere on this. I think you let it make up its mind, whether it's breaking back down to the bottom where there's all kinds of support in the 30s, the low 30s, and then even like 29, or is it gonna hold this 200 period and 50 period moving average, calm down and consolidate there, and then try to make a run? You talked about, Brendan just mentioned, the cash flow, actually, the free cash flow was good. Maybe there's some positive signs that can come out of that and it can hold the bottom. I'm not gonna predict it. I just think you want to be a little bit patient with these airlines. Like the fact that UAL is actually doing worse is not a very good sign. When you get one name reporting and then they get upstaged by another in the wrong direction, it tends to not bode well. And obviously, I mean, UAL, the chart's not as good in a general sense. Like it's the weaker of the two stocks, but it demonstrates the same thing. When these trend away from a level, they are good swing trades and they are good to hold. Right now is not the point at which you make those types of decisions. Like not after the first initial spike. Like look, the last time I had a big down swoop in a couple of days, you waited for it to calm down, look at the hold the 200 period, suddenly it breaks away, there's a hold above. Like there's reasons to get into these things, but I would be backing off of them right now.
Yeah, I like that look. We talked about that in the morning as well. Kind of this interesting support zone from a few days ago, and I was like, yeah, well, if we're going to continue this this sell-off that we've experienced in the pre-market, this is a 1 hour chart here to kind of give us a little look left as well. But yeah, we did come right into that, and it seems like it's acting as a little bit of a demand zone as of right now, with the price action slowing down. We've printed the first green hour after this earnings came out at 6 a.m. So let's take a quick look at that 15-minute as well to see if there's any potential there. Yeah, I think this is a potentially decent structure to look at on DAL. And yeah, I'm curious to know what some of these other airlines are doing, like AAPL and maybe Spirit Airlines as well. So kind of in sympathy mode there with the first of many more airlines to kind of report on in this earnings season. So American Airlines looking kind of similar as well. Let's take a quick look at Spirit Airlines, and then obviously we're also looking at Delta as well. I guess Spirit not as affected, but I know that again another airline ticker that has had its name in the news over the past few days, also kind of catching a little bit of a sell here, with the bid dropping below this kind of gap down consolidation that we had off of the news earlier. So a lot of these airlines taking a decent slow and steady descent, it would seem.
Ooh, nice, good pun.
All right, let's talk oil. 1.25% right now, still for oil. It's been basically a grind lower since the pre-market for equities this morning for futures. 10 minutes or so left in the pit session over in Chicago this morning. We had that escalation that happened overnight in this Red Sea conflict. There was a couple of tanker companies that came out this morning as well and kind of reiterated the fact that they are going to avoid that passage for the time being until things get resolved to some sort. So that had put a ton of pressure. I mean, oil was up more than 3.5% at one point in pre-market trading this morning. So we've come back a long way. You saw XOM there, not really doing a heck of a lot throughout the day. We get the gap to the upside. A little bit of a push out of the gate this morning, but it's been sideways ever since, still positive on the overall session. But yeah, it was all about those headlines that were coming out after the close yesterday.
You know what's really concerning is that these oil tankers, if they get hit, I mean, it's not like a merchant ship getting hit, Brendo. So you can really understand the concern here. And it's interesting because a couple of days ago, I was reading an article about the Saudis flooding the market with oil and pushing the price back down. And here we go, the completely unrelated, an unrelated development, pushing Brent crude, Brendo, 4.1% to 80, and we were obviously flirting with 75 on WTI today. So not a good look.
Yeah, yeah, we can show that chart if you want. It's kind of interesting in the sense that. This is USO. So if you invested $1,000 in USO, and then the major indices, S&P 500 and NASDAQ, so oil obviously has lagged what has happened in both the S&P and the NASDAQ since that's only January of last year. So 1 year performance, very kind of sideways and choppy, guys, for oil.
Reported today.
It is sideways and choppy. So look, you guys were talking about XOM. I'm going to show Occidental in a second because I think maybe that'll give an afternoon trade. But XOM is the one that's at the big level on the daily chart, which is 98. So 98's bounced a couple times. It looks like we just retested it, and we've held above that level. So this is the one that's at the big, okay, if you like the long, if you think we're going to have a sustained move up in oil prices. Not that oil price matters as much as it does to the bigger operators than it used to, but if you think that matters, this is at the bigger level. But I think if you're looking for an afternoon trade in all of this malaise, the market malaise or whatever you want to call it, Occidental has been hugging VWAP in here. So if you were favoring maybe one of these to the south side, at least that's giving you a little bit of an idea. Oh, I might have missed JPM here. Let me just pivot back because unless you're trading off Oxy or off VWAP, or I think these are better swings off some of these bottoms than necessarily the day trade. You can see it slow down. Oil futures are going to calm down as well in the afternoon. But I'm now trying to get inside on on JPM here. I was going to wait for some overfills at the 170, 171, but I'm just going to get into the consolidation here. Now, I don't want to be holding this past the 171, but this is a really tight consolidation, which I was waiting for a potential break up that I could fade that move. But the longer it did that dance, there you go. Like it kind of did this little dance here as I was waiting, where it broke the high and then started trending back down under. You can't wait forever. If I'm looking to short that pop, that might have been the entry there, and I was waiting for a bit higher. So I'm just going to jump into the trend and give it to the local top there on JPM. Now, while it wasn't the original plan, because I thought I'd be getting a bigger spike that I'd fade at 71s and still hold the same thing, now I'm going to give it to the top. which is just underneath the 170.90 level. So it's about 25 cents worth of risk. I mean, bottom to top, you got $1.50 to the bottom. I don't think you even necessarily have to get there. Gets back to 170, that looks good. But a bit of a change of plan. Like, I know when we talked about the banks like 10 minutes ago, I said look for 171s, but it's starting to break down off this channel as we speak.
Yeah, definitely oil on watch with geopolitical risks and tensions kind of rising as well. I was reading a couple of blogs and a few other things there, Neil, and they were talking about kind of the next big trade, overall bigger picture, kind of a swing being the oil trade. So I don't know. Maybe I feel like there's a lot of big players kind of looking at oil as of recent to kind of capture that move. But yeah, on the intraday. Now I don't know if you want to chime in on that a little bit after I'm done here. But yeah, oil kind of selling off. We talked about that 100, but staying over some previous days structure as well. But what's your take on some like that opinion of like the next big kind of trade being oil?
So first things first, let me get this out of the way. Like I recently, if you look at some of those bottoms, like the 98 bottom on XOM or the 55, 56 bottom on Oxy, and the 141 bottom on Chevron, I already bought the Chevron bottom in front of the 140 months ago. I recently bought about a third position because Oxy didn't get down to 55 yesterday in Oxy around the Buffett levels. So if I were to say that, yes, I think that some of these are going to start to head back to the upside, that's sort of talking my own book. Not something we haven't already talked about.
Right.
Yeah, but I believe so. Like some of it has to do with the heated tensions that are going on, escalating a little bit. Others, they're at support levels. I also believe you start to look at this, like what had lagged a little bit and what is going to be next, and I've kind of been feeling that for a little bit. That's why I got some Chevron, which was already the one that I owned, and added some Oxy as well. So yeah, you could put me in that camp. I don't really trade or buy oil futures. I trade the equities, and I've held Chevron on my long-term account for a while. Sometimes I add and subtract to it. I have recently added to it, and then just bought Oxy literally yesterday.
All right, snow to the upside since the open, but downside overall today was Barclays out with a downgrade. This is another one. I mean, I mentioned it this morning. This is another one with a daily chart that looks great still, just consolidating under that $200 level up here. Back to the upside ever so slightly during the day, but still pretty negative overall after Barclays downgrade.
Yeah, it was up 39%, Brendo, in 2023, so it was nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, Barclays sticking with that 198 price target, though. They are warning of potential headwinds, basically saying an increasingly competitive environment from large private vendors, as well as the likes of Microsoft and CRM that are pushing their data cloud offering. Should be noted, 29 of 46 analysts have this as a buy and 15 rated as a hold.
As always, the rundown brought to you by our friends over at Trade Ideas. If you have not done so, good time to go and grab your copy today so you can do some back testing on the weekend. And also potentially win $2,400 coming up in a couple of weeks. You can get $2,400 on an Amazon gift card in their Go Low tournament. We're going to ask Michael Noss what Go Low means.
Good question.
As well, because I'm a little confused. But anyways, it's a trading tournament. You can only go long, no shorting, because apparently a lot of people were shorting the last time.
Go low, go
didn't
long,
end well.
Brendo.
But why does it go low? It's a play on long?
It's like down Adira's alley there.
No.
No, hold on a second. No. It's not
I
a
just
play
happened
on.
to miss that. What happened?
Look, I love Michael, and I've used Trade Ideas every day for like a very long time. So at least one trader on this head office trading floor here in Toronto at Day Trade of the World has been using, at least one, usually it's several, has been using Trade Ideas for years. I'd say as long as they've been in existence. Like they're great. It's for traders. It's built by traders for traders. But you can't tell me that go low makes sense if you can only go long, because I understand LO. It's just the kind of thing. It's just my brain is starting to like have issues with this, because YOLO. If it's a play on YOLO, because you YOLO long, I'm down with that. Like I understand where you're coming from. I think maybe that is more of it. It's not go low for go long, because go low, you want stuff to go down. When
go low is go short.
Yeah, right now I am looking go low, right? Because I'm short a firm, I'm short Lucid, I just short a JPM. Now JPM might not work, it's the only one that's not in the money. But it doesn't matter, like at the end of the day, check it out. I think it's fantastic. We actually had a couple of our viewers in their last contest do pretty well. So you know what? Go in there and kick some butt. As a matter of fact, I think you all should. Snowflake, you saw already what I like to pop and fade this morning. So when the market made its move to the upside, you know what I liked short? I was in a couple of them. I was also in the AMD short that I really liked. And you guys, if you watched the morning show, and I'll talk about it, how that one went out for me. It didn't go well, despite the fact that it should have been fantastic. It wasn't. But the other thing that we mentioned with regards to Snowflake was one of the more simplistic strategies out there. For anyone that's just starting to trade, if you are looking to fade, if fade means short into resistance or just short something that's going up, Snowflake went right into previous support, gave you the top wick right where it closed yesterday, and then dropped. So there is your previous support level. It's just with patience, it grinds up into it. This is the closing consolidation yesterday with a top just above 196. It goes right into that top, fails 196, and then drops. The level of patience required to make that trade is very high because it's getting up to that price, and you're like, oh my goodness, it's getting there. I should be short. I should be short. I should be short. And then you don't wait for here or here or here to get the short. You're short here, here, and here, and then you miss out on it. You're asking, why are you showing me this if you didn't take the trade yourself? Because for 2 days in a row, I said exactly the same thing I wanted short on AMD. If you just simply closed your eyes and shorted where I said to the last 2 days, you would have made money on AMD. If you actually followed my execution plan on AMD the last 2 days, you would have lost money. Now, Lucid was fine, and Affirm was fine, and yesterday was the same thing. There were plenty of other great shorts, but for whatever reason, this one, I could not wait for the back end of the trade. I could not wait yesterday on AMD. I could not wait today on AMD. I moved away from it and started shorting other stuff because that's what you should do. But when I talk about Snowflake, that's why. It's easy to say that that's an easy trade. It requires a lot of patience and execution because you get a lot of FOMO that you're going to miss the turn on the way up. That is human nature. It happens to literally everybody. It happens to me all the time. I just showed you that it happens to me. As a matter of fact, let me just go over to Luke because I can sit here and wax poetic about it. But like I did have an initial entry, which was a little bit early, that I scalped out. And then I got the move off of the top. It's going to happen. Like not all trades are, it's easy to see the level sometimes. It's not always easy to make the execution. And at least admitting that to yourself will help you be better the next time through. So Snowflake, there was a trade there. I didn't necessarily think it was better than the others that were available at 9:30.
Yeah, Neil, I got to agree with you. It's definitely very hard to resist the backside at times, and when it does come in, so nice, yeah, no, it is very enticing to get in a little too early. You know, sometimes you find yourself on the front side, and you're like, I really was looking for the backside. I really wanted that, and you get a little too aggressive. It happens. It happens to me a lot, and that's something I got to work on. But when that backside does come in, oh boy, is that beautiful off of previous days support. Not even previous days. It's been a support this whole week, give or take a few points there off of that 195, 196, whatever you want to call it. This little area has been acting as support since that strong drive on Monday. Coming in today, you test that Monday low from the pre-market, kind of this previous consolidation before we had the one leg up consolidation, second leg up consolidation. You come right back into that consolidation and rip right back up. So yeah, if you were patient for some of this level to come in, the backside was quite nice. What's up, Neil? Come on, you know I lean a little short. I lean a little more towards the short side, so I gotta appreciate when the backside's nice. All right, so anyways.
What if my daughter was watching this show? She's 6 years old. OB?
So by backside, I mean when the candles are making lower lows and lower highs, and you have consecutive structure that's leading to the downside. That is what the backside means.
You're really,
all right, so
you're really holding it together with this, aren't you? Like that's, I'm very impressed because that was really well done. Everybody knows exactly what you're doing, Obi, and it's fantastic and a heck of a lot of fun. Of course, on the blockchains, he's talking about stocks. Clearly, we're a trading show. We are talking about stock. We never go off topic. All we do is talk about movements in the market.
I like big bids, and I cannot lie.
These other bids can't deny. Oh my God. Sorry. Well, you know what happens to me. Like the first thing is like I'm just gonna do the rest of it, but the rest of it isn't in stock form. I used to do a thing where I would rap at the end of the day, and there was one day.
That used to be great. What happened?
Well, we didn't get enough likes, so I stopped doing it because people didn't like it apparently. There was like one day where I got into it, and then I realized I didn't actually know the clean lyrics of the song that I was doing.
You were just in the flow.
I was flowing, and then I got to the part where I was like, oh, wait a minute, I don't know another way to do this, and my head's working, and you could see me just completely break down live for everybody and just start fumbling through. It was so bad, but you know what? I didn't drop that you-know-what bomb on all of you guys, so that's shout out to me for not cursing. Like, what if my daughter was watching is what I think about. She's not watching, she's at school. But the market is falling. We're heading to the downside. Let's go. Flushing once again. That's why we didn't wait for JPM. It just got to the 50s. I want evens now. I am in a firm because, I don't know, like shorting a firm is a thing that you do, but I did not reload this. See, now here's the thing. This would have been a better re-entry than JPM. Who's the idiot that just said go short JPM? I want like find that guy and throw him under a bus or put him under this tree. I don't know who he is, but he's probably wearing a tan sweater right now because that's a better trade right here. I'm already in this trade. That's a better short. A firm is a dog. A firm is ugly. A firm is down 2.5% already. It's flat bottom breaking on the daily. I'm just giving you all the reasons why this was actually a better trade that I didn't just take. So we're holding it, and I guess now we just have to find another entry down to 41. Maybe it's underneath this 42 level. Maybe it can pop a little bit, and we can fade this back into 42, but we should have taken that, because that's like a $40 stock just dropped the same 40 cents that JPM did, and JPM's 4 times the price. So obviously, you tell me which one was a better move. It doesn't matter. You guys, I always do this. Oh, I'm not hating on a firm in that way, Jaden Rangel. We're only ever talking about the price action around here, right? So I actually don't think that this type of a business is a bad business. In this world, if you deal in credit, you tend to make a lot of money. So it's a new business. Evaluating how they're going to work, how are they affected by a potential recession? Like how are they affected by the consumer getting hurt a little bit? How are they, like all of these things we don't know about them. So I don't know how you price this just yet. I think the business long term, if they can survive, can be fine. It's a trading vehicle to me right now. You know, on hype on the way up, it was a good stock to own, and to me right now it's just a bit of a trading vehicle. So it is what it is. If the stock gets down to, what did you just say? Andrew Ditter says no hate provided to it when the stock reaches 25 again. Yeah, you know what? I think that's not difficult to say. 20 to 25 bucks, would I diddle with that one? I think if it gets all the way down there and you want to hold it for the long term, you take a shot at something like that. No questions asked. Any guesses what just made a fresh low of the day? It begins with T and ends with ESLA. And it's at a fresh low, so it's not looking good for Tesla. The EVs are under pressure. Let me just check in on Lucid, because I am on the, I'm not on the bid at 3. Let me just get back on the bid at 3. I should point this out. Lucid, when it got to $3, that was the last execution I made. It made this wick underneath 3, broke back up. I wanted 310s, it went to 308. And then it's holding the $3 level. So I've been waiting for it to break the 3 level. The fact that it's not doing this with the last flush means I'm going to bid 3 and then hold the rest on Lucid. So the short has worked. What else do we like? Let me know what you guys are watching in the chat. What else is moving here? Because I'm looking at EVs, I'm looking at JPM, I'm looking at a firm. To be sure, JPM, I probably just get a bid out there. I think I want to pivot from JPM to something that might be moving a little bit better. There's nothing wrong with this trade.
I like BAC where it's at.
It's just like, that's like, give me a break. Like, this consolidated this long to break down when the market broke down, and you're going to tell me it moves 60 pennies? That's not that much. Usually when I see that, like, remember what I just showed you guys with the move in Affirm? Like, that was a move.
Right.
I thought JP Morgan, if we broke the channel, would be down almost $1 right away. When that doesn't happen, you kind of reassess what I thought before about the trade.
Yeah, I think JPM has kind of extended a lot further than some of the other banks, and yeah, the reversion is definitely a little bit happening there as the trend has gone a little bit sideways. The trend, and then there's this also. Like, I don't know if this was a volume from a dark pool. It's definitely messing with the VWAP on our platform here, but I can see that on the TradingView chart that volume candle is there on the shorter time frame, just a little bit there, but not as significant. So I'm thinking maybe that was a dark pool print, kind of printing near consolidation lows, right? So we are getting a little bit of a push back up into VWAP here, but I did get a little short on the BAC. Just because kind of we had this crazy shake and bake in the middle. You had pre-market like that reaction high was in and around these 3320s as well. Opening reaction high, sure, the 3 minutes up into here, but the drive kind of stopped right under there as well, and you get that this crazy kind of lick grab of both sides, and you get that you see that resistance kind of showing up once again, and then we slowly kind of grind right back up into the 3320s. So yeah, maybe I'm looking for the same kind of players to kind of show up here in and around this 33 level. And it seems like as of right now, maybe they are there. But with the JPM kind of pulling back, I'm seeing Wells Fargo pulling back as well, Citigroup as well, kind of pulling back. I think BAC with the range that it's doing, I think the probability of it coming down to VWAP may be something nice. But let's see. What do I know? We got to wait for that move to come into fruition.
Where was this is the one to short talk on BAC a second ago when I was
I literally said, oh, I like BAC.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking about JPM and you were like, oh, where can I possibly, and I said, oh, I like where BAC is right now.
Because really, yeah. When I look back at this, I'm out of it now. Like, I basically just covered when it wasn't moving as much as I would have expected it to there. Like, I just covered it in front of, like, this is where it made the low. This is the previous high. Kind of broke out that high 170.25. So if it's not blasting through that level on the move, and I don't think it's the one, then I just take this trade to there. But really, like, that's like 30, when this moves like 40 cents, that's like a 35-cent move. Don't necessarily, it's not bad R&R to there because you're risking about 15 pennies, but it's just not what it could have been. Maybe BAC, like you said, is just a little bit better. I'm just gonna throw this out because I saw in the chat, who was saying this about AMC? Because you made a very, Christian Hanley. Christian in the chat, oh look, AMC put it in a new low. You just saw me rant about Lucid, and if you want to make money, if you want to be successful trading, the trend is your friend. So AMC just did this, and for all you apes out there, when these stocks start going, I'll be the first person to take breakouts long. We have no issue. Trust me, we've seen the show. Like, I don't mind doing it. Like, you trade the trade, but when a stock does this, where have we seen this before? Oh yeah, like 5 minutes ago, or I guess half an hour ago, when we were talking about Lucid. It's just it's just a short until it's not. Every single day. Look at the 15-minute chart here. At what point, like the time, like this day, the short doesn't work right off the open. What's the first thing it does? Hold the low and break higher at the open on volume. Like, the first thing it does. It never even gives you that chance. Every other day at the open, it fails the open price. Every day except for the day that it goes up. Today, it actually gave you the nice little head fake. So I would argue that today was the hardest day to short this stock than in a long time. And even then, it still would have worked out for you. So trade the trend. I want to get to Uber in a second because there was a question about Uber. I'm done with Uber today. Firstly, I missed the breakout trade we were talking about in the afternoon because I was looking at other stocks at the open, so I'll slap a fail on that. There is zero. We spent way too much time talking about the breakout on Uber for me only to take the dip buy into the same level. Did I get a good bounce the first time? Yes. Did I get a halfway decent bounce the second time? Yes. Did I end up stopping out the last of it for a loss? Also, yes. But the trade should have been taking the clean break early, not just getting the dip and then catching another dip. It should have been much better than that. Now I'm not touching it because it's back underneath that 52-week high from that got broken out yesterday. So I want to get away from it. Rhett, why is Citigroup up? Who said, I don't want, was it Sharif that was explaining why Citigroup? It might have been Sharif. Let me give credit to him.
There's a reason behind it?
Well, no. I think it was or it might have been people in the chat. Oh, you know what it was? It was Wayne, one of our floor managers that I heard talking about this morning, and the explanation for why Citigroup might be showing some strength. So I'm going to credit Wayne because I think it was his voice that I heard talking to the trading floor about while we were doing the morning show. Citigroup, look at the move it's already made. It sold off with a big pullback into a big level going into the earnings. So it got to 55. It did a big pullback before you even had the report into a monster level. You can see a monster level by the way that it trades into it, condense into it, then break away. So it traded back into that level. And then once it was down there, you almost like get like that crazy relief rally back into it. And then it goes back and forth trading the range. So it could just be that when you get that much selling and then it's not the worst, I don't think any of the bank earnings were all that great. If you look at it compared to expectations, it could just be that. So it's a little bit of an explanation that's not necessarily fundamental, but sometimes earnings responses are about where the stock has been in the first day anyways. It's more about where the stock has been as opposed to necessarily how you fundamentally think about the earnings. I've learned that over the years to try not to overthink the fundamentals. If a stock has been dropping way too heavy into earnings and then they have a bad report, it might have already made it too much of a bottom anyways, and it's just gonna go up in a relief rally if some shorts cover. So JP Morgan's probably gonna continue to head lower because I got out. I don't care, we made our money on it. OB will be fine in BAC because I think that might end up doing a little bit better, but there's a bit of a bounce starting to happen in a firm. So my first thought is how far is it gonna go before I can jump back into some short and add to this position shorting a firm. Rhett, you don't have to thank us for the explanation. All you have to do is, I pity the fool that doesn't hit the like and subscribe button. We're literally we sit here and trade and talk stocks all day long. Yeah. And the crazy thing about it, like Obi, when I had a break,
and we were in the kitchen talking stocks.
I went to get a water, and an hour later, like we were still talking shop with like, I think it was like 3 traders at first, and then it was like 7 of us just sitting there in the kitchen talking the banks, talking some breakout trades, talking literally buyout movement, talking order flow, level 2, tape reading for like an hour. I mean, we felt like an hour. It could have been, I don't know, maybe it was a half an hour.
It was a good 45 minutes.
Probably okay, good 45 minutes.
At least.
If you do what you love, you will not work a day in your life.
Yes, sir.
I have no idea who said that, but they're smarter than me.
Yeah, I don't know where that quote is from either, but yeah, definitely one to live life with. But I see somebody in the chat talking about Disney coming in. So I did pull it up here. Last time I was looking at Disney was the whole the writer strikes and that whole debacle that was going on, and that was kind of when it was in the limelight. Was it a few months ago or so? So let's take a quick look at what Disney has been up to since then. A little bit of a push past earnings. Right, we did have earnings in November, and then we've been slowly kind of dropping back down into these earnings prices right here. What is that earnings reaction high? Real quick. Right there, that's 88 halves, 88.60 give or take. And where are we at today? 88.60s, 68 is the low right here from yesterday. So coming right back into some of those earnings levels from November is Disney. It did have a nice run back up to or through those highs, kind of a consolidation push on Disney. But it seems like again with these candles that have been here over the past few days, it just seems like it's been bid up off of this 89 level over and over again for the past 3 days pre-market included, very strong with that market tailwind as well. But overall, it is kind of been downtrending in the month of December, going into January as well. But yeah, a little bit of a fade past VWAP on the day today, but pretty much sideways in a bit of a churn. So let me know if you guys are trading Disney today. How did you guys trade? Did you go long off the open? Are you playing with VWAP? Are you playing with some of these highs or some of these previous levels as well? You can see kind of on the stair step down, it does kind of follow previous structure every now and then. It's not really perfect, but it does seem like it has some decent levels and areas to work off of. So I'm curious to know if anybody's trading that Disney as well. People talking about NVIDIA. Let's take a look at our chip leader.
Before we go to the chips, let me just, a lot of people asked about AUVI. It's halted to the upside here. Look, it's pretty good volume. Like it's doing really big volume on the day, like 50 million. The current tap is 450. Like the halt is at 377, but the current auction price, I mean theoretical auction price, is up here at the 450 level. Remember what the deal is for these names, right? So when you reverse split, float gets lower, and then yada, yada, yada. And when these stocks have been breaking out the post-split high, they've been tending to go squeeze for lack of liquidity. Like you basically get the float soaked up and then they start going and going and going. Just a reminder that this is like on the Mullen range of these where it's like multiple reverse splits. So fundamentally, you know what you're dealing with here. You don't do this if things are going well. So no one ever went broke taking profit. I think if you got a consolidation long, like if you're in this off the consolidation long or the breakout, great, you pay yourself, you hold it. Personally, I'm not with 1 hour to go, I'm not trying to chase one of these because I know what the end game usually looks like for something like this. So it's either you've taken your shot early with good risk to reward and congratulations, it's paid off. If it does open at 450, then even taking the whole price would have been fantastic. But I'm not touching this to the long side when it opens up, not when you've already had the move. So anybody that's out, I'm not telling you guys what to do. It's just I'm telling you guys I'm not taking this one long. I might price out what locates are, but even then, I doubt I'd take the short. So just a heads up on that one.
Happening? Oh, AUVI. Sorry, I was looking at this IBIT. Got a little lost in the chart there. So yeah, let's take a quick look at what I'm looking at as well. So IBIT, kind of I did have the short idea on Mara today, right? A little bit of a continuation on the bigger picture, maybe potentially sell the news event, and it seems like that is what it has been. And yeah, pretty much missed a short on this one. Much easier and cleaner short than Mara there, Neil, on this IBIT. So it's definitely perking my interest here. So let's take a quick look at how it's been following along with the Bitcoin here. Yeah, very, very clean type of sympathy. Obviously, it is an ETF of the Bitcoin itself. So yeah, we did notice yesterday there was a little bit of a lead lag opportunities. You were mentioning this earlier on, and I did notice it as well. I was like, huh, this could potentially be a lead lag. But I also kind of heard you saying that those opportunities maybe just be around for the first day, and then those opportunities become more and more efficient as those algos and participants start to kind of make those opportunities less efficient.
Well, the problem is you have to remember,
or more efficient.
Yeah, like when you're trying to take advantage of any outside movement, they're meant to track. They're obviously meant to track spot prices, right, but they're not going to do that exactly. Yeah. So any inefficiencies get gobbled up much faster in markets. But you know what's up? We're locked and loaded and ready to hear from an absolute legend. You've seen him in the market recap show. Let's go to the desk. I don't want to spoil the surprise too much. JC in the house.
Yeah, the overall market a little bit quiet here this afternoon, so we'll get some technical look at what has happened not only today but this week. JC Peretz is the CEO and founder of All Star Charts. He's also a CMT and joins us on the afternoon show for the first time this afternoon. He's been on with Sean in the recap. A lot of you might have seen him on there. JC, great to be on with you for the first time. Welcome. First of all, it's been a busy week. It's been a busy day specifically. Give us, maybe start with the high level here. Give us your thoughts going into what has been a bit of a chop fest to start a brand new year here, but we are still looking at higher inflation. We're looking at non-farm payrolls still moving back to the upside, and we're looking at the start of earnings season here, kicking off this morning with kind of an oh-hum banking report.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I appreciate the invite, guys. As far as the market's gonna goes, like let's keep in mind, like we've seen monster returns over the last 18 months. It's consistently paid to be a buyer of dips. It's consistently paid to be betting on rotation coming in. So historically in bull markets, what you see is the laggards catching up to the leaders. In bear markets, it's the remaining leaders that catch down to the laggards, right? And what have we seen? The new 52-week lows list peaked in June of 2022. Ever since then, it's been consistent rotation, broadening participation among stocks on the New York Stock Exchange, amongst industry groups and sectors in the stock market, and countries around the world, right? This is not a United States thing. Let's remember last year, the United States was a laggard. Latin America was the big winner, right? So these are the types of things you see when you go study bull markets throughout history. You'll notice the United States is an underperformer in a lot of those. Perfectly normal, and we're seeing that again today. But it's really what we're seeing here is four. Nobody's going to argue with me. We'll all agree these are the most important places in the world: semiconductors, home builders, broker dealers, industrials. Give me another group of stocks that's more important, right? These are the big four. And what are we seeing? All of them are above the prior cycle's highs, those late 2021 highs. That's the type of market environment where it's really hard to be bearish. If these industry groups are below those former highs and we're back in this long-term range, and people are like, well, we're just back to the highs from 2 years ago, so nobody's made money for 2 years. Oh, that's nonsense, first of all. When you look at total returns, we're well above those in a lot of indexes. When you look at an anchored VWAP from those highs 2 years ago, the average investor since then is very, very profitable. So when you look at the most important industry groups above those former highs, again, hard to be bearish. Come talk to me if those are breaking down and we're losing those highs. And then most importantly, or I would say just as important, would be what's not working. What's not working is consumer staples. In bull markets, in strong, healthy market environments, consumer staples underperform. You don't need the canned goods and the cigarettes and the booze, right? And the Coca-Cola. You don't need that stuff. You're investing in technology and financials and industrial stocks and semiconductors, right? Those are the types of things that are working in that environment. You don't need the staples. Staples outperform when stocks are under pressure, when you need the canned goods and the cigarettes and all that stuff, right? We keep making lower lows and lower highs. That's been the case throughout all of 2023, which, by the way, was a great year for stocks, obviously. So if that continues to break down on a relative basis, I think that's healthy for stocks. Look for any strength in staples on a relative basis, holding back above those late 21 lows. If we're back above there, we can argue that maybe markets are messy, and you'll see it. But that hasn't happened yet.
All right, let's break that. A lot to digest there, obviously. Let's break that down a little bit further here. We get the first group of the banks today. If we look at just the financials specifically, is there one or two? We talk about JP Morgan obviously all the time being among the strongest, if not the strongest, on a year in, year out basis. Is there one or two in this group that we should keep our eye on this year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Berkshire Hathaway is the largest component of the financials index and is pushing up against new all-time highs. And what's interesting about Berkshire Hathaway is that you're not just getting the financials, you're getting a lot of insurance in that, which obviously is a part of financials that has worked out very well. Because keep in mind, there's a lot of different kinds of financials. You got broker dealers and exchanges, you got regional banks, you got insurance stocks, you got all kinds of stuff happening in the financials. Healthcare is similar to that as well, where you got all kinds of different things happening. But nevertheless, I would look at Berkshire Hathaway, the strength in general in capital markets, the asset managers, things like BlackRock and LPL, and Raymond James. These are big companies that are going from the lower left to the upper right. The insurance stocks continue to work. Look at the reinsurers. Like there's just a lot happening in financials. And then just from a positioning standpoint, investors are just not in financials. They're just not as invested in financials as they should be, based on the performance. Because let's remember, what was the best performing sector in the S&P 500 in the second half of last year? Was financials. Right? So the fact that financials continue to work, I don't think should be a surprise. I think we want to buy weakness in financials. I mean, they're working.
Yeah, I mean, pretty flat today coming off of these reports. What do you take from some of these earnings today?
We don't care so much about the earnings themselves as we do the market reaction. Let's remember that financials have come a long way over the last couple of months. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was up 5,000 points in 2 months for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which, by the way, now the largest sector in the Dow is financials. It's no longer healthcare. Financials have taken over because of the strength that we've seen. So think about that. So I'm not really interested so much in the earnings. I'm interested in the market's reaction. Clearly, a lot of what's been coming in was priced in. We've seen monster moves. Let them digest. Let them do their thing. But financials are making new 52-week highs. Financials in India, when you look at Bank Nifty, also making new 52-week highs. Look at European financials. They've already been making new highs, leading the way ahead of U.S. financials. So I think it's a broader rotation that we've been seeing, by the way, over the last 6 months. So I would look at Berkshire Hathaway, and I would look at some of the asset managers.
Let's go on to what led the way in 2023 and talk a little bit about, the NASDAQ as a whole, but also specifically, it was all about semiconductors. It was all about AI. After what happened in 2023 with the NVIDIAs, the AMDs, Intels of the world, do we see that again here?
When you look at something like semiconductors breaking out to new highs, NVIDIA breaking out to new highs, if NVIDIA is above 500, I think you have to own it. When you see things like that, that's just not an environment where you want to be betting against technology. Do I think that you're going to have such a massive difference between, the performance of technology and communications versus some of the other areas? I don't know about all that, because we're seeing so much strength out of some of these industrial stocks for quite some time now. Like I said before, the financials, you're seeing it in consumer discretionary as well, not just in the United States, but around the world. So I think that last year, a lot of the complaints from the people who actually never took the time to go and see what the market was doing, they were complaining that the equally weighted indexes were underperforming the cap weighted indexes like the S&P 500, and that was a signal that the market was going to crash because of bad breath. That wasn't true at all. There's only 7 stocks going up. Also, not true at all, right? With some formula that the S&P 500 might use to calculate, and you take away what this did and then yeah, maybe, but that doesn't actually matter. It was a lot more than 7 stocks doing well all year, not just at the end. And a lot of small cap stocks also doing really well. And when you talk about, semiconductors and just technology in general, small cap technology, mid cap technology, small caps and mid caps in general, because you can make the same argument for industrials and some of these material stocks. There are no large cap material stocks. They're all mid caps, So I think it's important to understand how the market is structured, right? What's in these things, and materials that you're never going to see a mega cap material stock. It just doesn't exist. So they live in different areas. And I think as investors, it's important for us to sort of adapt to where the strength is going and the rotation that we're seeing, which, by the way, is perfectly normal in bull markets to consistently get that rotation. That's what we've always seen, and we're seeing it now too.
Yeah, I was reading a lot going into the holidays and then over the holiday break about the argument of the S&P 493 versus the Mag 7. If you had to make that decision going into 2024 here, do you put your money with 493 or 7 of them?
Listen, fortunately, we don't have to play those games, and we can actually make I think there's winners and losers. Google continues to work, right? Microsoft has been a leader. Even in October, where, some of the indexes were still making new lows in the back half of October, just a few months ago, Microsoft was up 7.5% in October. So Microsoft has just been a tremendous leader. Same thing with NVIDIA. So I think there's money to be made there for sure. As you go down the cap scale, right, you don't have to buy 493 stocks, But as you go down the cap scale, you're just going to get more beta. So you're going to get a better bang for your buck. Not that you're not going to get juice in NVIDIA. We saw 200-300% just like in a year or two. So like, you know, you're going to get some juice there too. But generally speaking, as you go down the cap scale, you're going to get bigger moves. That's just, you know, that's just what it is. They're easier to move, you know, 10, $15 billion companies versus $1 trillion stock, much harder to move. So kind of, I think about it like that.
All right, let's shift gears here, talk a little bit about crypto. It stole the headlines this week with these ETFs. Are they or are they not? For 24 hours, they were, and then they were not again, and then now they are. Two questions on this. One, when you get a new listing on the market, how do you, from a technical standpoint, you know, find out where you want to actually be involved in this? Obviously, there's some structure involved with these ETFs because of their ties to Bitcoin and then Bitcoin too.
Yeah.
Are you a Bitcoin guy, first off? And what do we do with this here now that we have the ability to, you know, be involved via an ETF?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm a Bitcoin guy. It's that I'm an investor trying to make money in the market. Like that's who I am. And if that's in Bitcoin, then it's in Bitcoin. If it's in gold, then it's in gold. If it's in treasury bonds, if it's in Apple, Microsoft, Baidu, you know, right? I don't care, right? It does, as long as I can, as long as I believe oil, right? As long as I believe that I can sell something that I buy at a higher price, right? For a variety of reasons, and the risk is well defined, in my opinion, I'm going to be involved. So Bitcoin for me, you know, we've been trading Bitcoin since 2014. So yes, would you consider me a Bitcoin guy? I suppose. But again, not because I know anything about Bitcoin. I can make the argument that I know less today about Bitcoin than I did when I originally started trading it 10 years ago, right? I can probably make that argument, which is hilarious. Well, I don't know anything about the blockchain chain or any of that stuff. For me, I'm more interested in, you know, in what direction is the risk? Is the risk to the upside or the risk to the downside? In my opinion, above 31,000 for me, the risk was very much, here we're looking at an Ethereum Bitcoin chart. Just an FYI, so this isn't Bitcoin, but I'll walk you through the Bitcoin. Was above 31,000, you know, and the target was over 100, right? That's where I think we go. Short term, 47,000 was our target. You know, we had some trouble there from, you know, some former bounces over the years. That was, you know, a reason to, you know, be somewhat cautious at these levels. The fact that it coincided with the launch of the Bitcoin ETF is hilarious. I do ultimately think Bitcoin breaks out above that and retests those highs and goes and beyond that towards 100,000. I do believe that. And then 120, who knows? But what's been really interesting is the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, where the ratio, I mean, we've seen a 25% move just in a couple of days in the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio as we get rotation into Ethereum, which, you know, again, I'm no expert in any of this stuff. It seems to be that the market's pricing in the next ETF, which logically would be the ETH. And it's been more of a sell the news sort of situation in Bitcoin. That's how I look at it. I'll tell you what, though, I can show you that the CryptoPunks here. I'll show you guys. So CryptoPunks, you know, further out on the risk scale, these are like essentially the blue chip of the NFT space, the rookie card, if you will. And this is the floor price breaking out to new 52-week highs, new like 20-month highs, I believe, for CryptoPunks. This is a $1.5 billion market cap. So say what you want about NFTs, there are some assets here, and it certainly behaves with respects to risk appetite. You know, this doesn't speak towards risk aversion. The fact that you're seeing new 20-month highs in something like CryptoPunks. Just wanted to throw that out there as part of what we're seeing.
Yeah, definitely an interesting point to kind of digest with this. If you go back to though these ETFs. Is there a time frame that you say, okay, there's enough data now that I can kind of wrap my head around, you know, where levels are, where liquidity seems to be providing itself, where there's some resistance before you start getting involved on the equity side?
Yeah, so for me, I manage my own portfolio, right? I manage my own wealth. I've had some successful businesses in the past, and that's my main focus. So I don't have to manage other people's money where like if I were like a buy side institution that needs to be in equities, I can't go to a Coinbase account and buy Bitcoin for my, you know, my LPs or whatever. I have to, but now I can. So now I have to analyze, where's the liquidity, all the things you said. Like, I don't have those problems. So I'm not really necessarily interested in that at all. I'm more interested to see what kind of market capitalization we start to see in these Bitcoin ETFs, right? So I'm not necessarily, just simply because of my mandate to myself and my family, I don't manage outside money. Like, my team helps me manage different strategies, yes, but it's all my money, so I don't have to answer to anybody. But so for me, I'm interested in the market cap changes, right? So right now, Bitcoin's about 850 billion in market capitalization. Total crypto market cap is like 1.6 trillion. Bitcoin's roughly a little bit more than half of that, right? So that's where we're at, kind of putting that in perspective. I'm curious to see what the total market cap for ETFs. Let's say there's 3 successful ones, 5. Let's say they're all successful. Let's say there were 1. I don't really care how many there are. I'm interested in the total market cap, because when you look at the GLD is about $60 billion in assets, and then the GDX is another like 10 or 15 billion in assets if you include the gold miners. But pure gold, 60 billion. Gold is $13 trillion in assets. So I don't know if that's a fair comparison, but that's all we got. So that's kind of how I think about it. I just want to compare market caps. I'm just really interested in how much money flows into Bitcoin ETFs. Really, really curious. And we'll be able to gauge also how much money is coming from actual Bitcoins into the ETFs and going the other way. And we'll see what happens. But the Ethereum outperformance is the big winner of the whole. So BTC got an ETF or 10 of them or whatever. What was the big winner of the whole thing? It's been this ratio.
Yeah, and let's keep an eye out for, obviously, there's going to be Ethereum ETFs to go along with this. JC, we appreciate you jumping on a Friday afternoon. JC Peretz is the founder and chief strategist over at All Star Charts. Have a great weekend.
You too. Adios.
I would mic drop this right now, but I don't want to break the mic and have Fabian, look, they'll get mad at me if I do. I'm going to put it back later. But one thing I'm going to ask you to do here is, firstly, thank JC for coming on, because he dropped a heck of a lot of knowledge. So much so, you should probably go give him a follow. And then when you get an opportunity over the weekend, we'll make sure we post that up so that you can rewatch it and try to catch everything that was said, because I think a lot of it's important. But there was one thing that speaks to my mind, and that is, I'm going to paraphrase, but I'm in the markets to make money. It doesn't matter where or how. You buy the things that are go up, you think are going up. You sell the things that are going down. Don't try to be the smartest person in the room. Just try to be a person that makes money. That's what the markets are for. I don't know. I'm impressed. It's a lot of fun. We'd love to also ask him, if you follow him, ask him to come on the Trader TV Live podcast, because I think that would be a heck of a discussion that everyone would be interested in. So thank you very much, JC. You dropped a hell of a lot of knowledge there. I will make one disagreement, because he said at the beginning, everyone can agree these are the 4 most important sectors out there. And I think we can everyone in our community knows, let's be real for a second, the defunct and absolutely failing rejection EV type names like the Mullins and the Lucids of the world and the VinFast are a crucial sector that are vastly more important than everything that JC was talking about. I think we can all agree on that. I can't even, damn it, I was gonna keep a straight face for the whole thing there. Anyways, not to crap on them, but just he was dead on about that. So thank you very much for coming on. While the market was still moving, I know you know which direction it's headed down, because I said down. So obviously, the market decided to make a little bit of a right-hand turn, because this is what we've been doing, fading all of the pops. We can't get above 17. There's your little curl. It's not a huge move. Remember, it's a long weekend coming up, so it's a Friday going into a long weekend, so it's a bit muted. We've been hanging around red to green. I pivoted from shorting JP to shorting the pop back in a previous low, which I was already in a firm, and it just worked back into the low of the day. All that said, what's weird about it is I was sort of ragging on the JPM short. Could have just stayed in that one. It ends up being a distinction without a difference, although, Miz went another 20, 30 cents. A firm just gave you the 20, 30 cents as well. Being a cheaper stock, I think it's a better move. Lucid is still falling like an absolute rock here. But as you see the market turning, I know you're in BAC. What are you thinking, Obi? Because I'm not sure I don't think this doesn't feel like an afternoon we're breaking any lows today. I feel as if, like, if we get back to some of these day lows, should be happy with taking that profit.
Yeah, exactly. I think BAC kind of is relatively stronger than some of these other names. It is still hanging out in the upper end of its range, but with JPM kind of leading the way again. One of the bank leaders on the day. It is relatively weaker, holding in and around this 170. We did base off of this 169 and some change, and you got that little bit of a volume. I got to go back and see whether or not that volume traded on the lit market or what. But definitely a lot of volume went in and around these prices. BAC may be lagging behind a little bit here, so I'm willing to give it some more time. But with the market pulling back as well, pretty rangy. I think, again, I'll give it more time to work. It is a later end of the day. We're going on a power hour. It is a Friday. I'm not expecting the move to have the same kind of volatility like we do in the first hour or even the first 15, 20 minutes of the day, right? So I got to let it work, let the position cook, as some would like to say. But yeah, no, I'm staying wary. I'm watching it. If we do bounce here on a lot of the banks, I'm more than willing to piece off of this. If the trend kind of pushes right back up into the upside. We did make a slow and grindy recovery back to these highs, 31.20s on BAC. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have too many ideas. I did kind of fumble this JPM trade in my opinion. Got to be much bigger on this trade. Got to add in on that 73 and change. You pointed out that it was a significant kind of a level over the past few days, and when we crack that level, and that level also has a little bit of confluence with that pre-market low, I think that is worthy of an add through that 173. But that's in retrospect, right?
It's up to you. But
yes.
Remember what you showed me with JPM with regards to the trend. Do you mind showing that?
Sure. Yeah, we can show that as well. Yeah, I guess it's gone and done. But yeah, sure. That was the whole reasoning why I wanted to short JPM was because of this. Let me pull it up. So we know that a lot of breakouts have been working well. We saw the Nvidia all-time high break. We saw the Softy all-time high break. So over the past couple of weeks, all-time high breaks have been working very decently.
100%.
And so I know and understand that, and I've been experiencing that over the past couple of weeks as well. So that 174, 175 JPM all-time highs, definitely an interesting look, and that trade was there. It was a quick scalp to the upside, but a little bit of a bigger picture here. Now, I don't know. This is just my opinion. It's just a line on the chart. As many would say, it's just a line on the chart. Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, take a look at this. Post earnings, significant trend. I've been kind of following this JPM bid. It's been in my notes for many of the days over the past, since November and a lot of December as well, kind of coming back to it. I'm like, oh, JPM keeps bidding. It keeps bidding. Post earnings, we had a pretty decent flush, a bit of a trend over a few weeks there. The previous earnings in November, and we have a strong flush, and it fails to follow through. You see that volume candle kind of higher than the rest of some of these. Let me actually take the R-vol indicator off. But yeah, you have some high volume bars that define the lower end of the range. Now, when you're down here, I didn't know that this was going to be the low, but we start slowly bidding. I'm like, all right, we're bidding back up, and when we break past this earnings consolidation low and reclaim and start to accelerate, I'm like, all right, well, the bid is definitely strong. The JPM bid, I call it in my notes, and I'm like, all right, well, this is going to continue to go further and further. Now, coming into earnings, I look at this kind of price action. It's very peculiar to me, and this almost confirms for me. This is confirmation that this trend line actually has participants in it. Take a look at this. You come into the trend line, you open off the trend, lick grab, snap up, lick grab, snap up. Okay, there's participants there. The next day, coming in, lick grab to the upside, you finally do break that trend. This is the first time we have broken that trend since November. And you crack down, Coming into earnings, I'm like, oh, very strong earnings, but the rest of the banks are relatively weak to JPM being the leader. I'm like, I like that 175. So 175 psychological level as well. I love psychological levels, and if you can get some strong confluence with a trend, with a lick grab, with whatever you want to call it, tape read, etc., I think the trade can be pretty decent. And also knowing that all-time high breaks have been working well, I also understand that there's going to be a lot of players trying to push that 175 break, but that's not what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for a failure to follow through with the rest of the banks being kind of weak. So when I see it snap through that 176, 175, clips the trend, and then flushes right back down, I only have 2 levels marked on my list, and I don't know what JPM is going to do coming in. I'm like 173 is a clear over/under. I also want to work with 175, and I see the weakness on the banks kind of keeps me a little wary. And when it slams right back down through that 175, respecting a longer time support and resistance level, it is a trend, support and resistance. I'm like, oh yeah, I do want to get short. So a bit of a fumble on my part. I should be way bigger on this trade. So that was kind of the reasoning behind why I liked the short through that level. Again, players offside, I think, is always a great trade.
Trapping longs is one of the best reversal shorts. And the funny thing is, when I came on the midday, the literal topic today that I wanted to discuss was profiting off of false breakouts and looking for shorts. That's why I wanted Obi to give that explanation, because while everybody was looking for the JPM breakout trade, really that was, if you were looking for that short and you're just glued to that level 2 as it's coming in, that is a huge opportunity. Now I say that as somebody who was probably, like, I was looking for, I didn't get the long on the open. I probably could have easily in another world have been long going into that, and maybe you win a little bit and maybe you lose. I did play the pullback with a tight stop. I didn't short this until late. So it's not, I'm not sitting here saying I sniffed that one out, but if you put in that kind of work to find that kind of a setup, then you owe it to yourself not to just join everybody going for the long and look for that short, right? Like understanding that even though breakouts have worked, if your research has told you something else, and that's a level of effort that you put in when you're trading, you've got to put in that work. We talk about this all the time. It's all about preparation. You cannot control what the market is going to do, but you can control how you prepare for your day, your week, and all of that good stuff. I mean, that's what athletes do. You're a mental athlete. That's what a smart man said on this desk one time, and I'm going to repeat that as well. A couple of questions about Boeing. Most of them have been by you, Mark. The issue with Boeing, I might have said this in the chat. So Boeing is holding 218 quarter. Right now, it's trend down. Basically, like the pre-market lows is where this is starting to hold up. The only issue with looking for this particular short is look at the move in Boeing has had. Like, it's been under pressure. You've got all the bad news in the world. It's just gone 50 period to close to the 200 period. You're at the end of the week. It's options expirations. It's a long weekend. All this bad news has come in for them. The other side of the trade a lot of times would be like, well, what if there's some profit taking going into the weekend? I usually try to, like, it's not that, like, I mean, I could short a firm or Lucid or something like that, but I can see reasons why Boeing might have just made a little bit of a bottom and it doesn't have a lot left to give going into the end of the week. You know, it could be at that point. Some of it might be that it's a Friday and all that stuff, but I feel a little bit easier about shorting other things. But like Boeing is, like, this speaks for itself, and then you get all that bad news. It's like, what bad news is left for them at this point to cause it to go further? And if you were short and got that windfall, like, are you waiting for it to open up after a long weekend, failing the 200 period moving average, or are you taking profits out in front of it? Like, you have had very little reason to cover any short that you would have had on a swing basis on Boeing. Like I said, another one option back and broke 4, but ended up retesting 5 even. If you took the open price, I think you're still in the money. Bit of a support level at 4. It's definitely starting to go a little bit haywire, although slightly trending down. The volume's okay, not great. I don't know that I want to touch it at this level, but you have the support of the previous halt bottom. Like, sorry, the halt price and then the bottom on the reopen, at least for now. It's pretty thin. The volume's good. So the liquidity is not that bad. 1-2 cent spreads, decent shares. It's definitely tradable. It's also 323 we're getting on in the day here as well. So I'm going to back off of that name. I always feel like you don't want to get caught over trading in the afternoons, and especially so when we get a long weekend. Oh, I want to remind everybody, usually on a Friday, we'd be taping the podcast. As I try to flip to Affirm here, we'd be taping the podcast, but because it was taped yesterday, there is a market recap show. I'm going to be on the market recap show. You know, we're going to go over some trades. We'll talk some shop. I do want to do a Q&A because when you stick around, I want to answer anybody's questions that you might have. Usually we'll have a lot of things that we need to discuss. But this time I want to be able to go off the cuff a little bit more. And there's so much that we got this week. There's a lot to cover and a lot to go over. So stick around. There still will be a market recap show as always. So we'll be on right after 4 o'clock. Shout out to Obi for filling in. Appreciate you, brother. So I wanted to get an early look on some of these imbalances just to get an idea of what might be moving. You only have 2 names standing out. On the early look, that's BRKR. CVS, which has been here before. We all know we saw them spike a little bit, 1.5 million buy. Cody, I don't really care about that one. But Uber at a sell of 900,000 or close to a million shares on Uber. So the one thing about Uber is remember that it's still a firm. They failed the 52-week high breakout. I shouldn't say failed it because market hasn't closed yet. But it made the break, wicked back under, huge run back into it. So it's kind of at that 63.5 again and then doing the under thing. So if it does stick around here, I could see it falling a little bit further. Now all bets are off next week if it decides to break it back up. But with $1 million to sell when it just got back underneath a the 52-week high, that is one I'll be looking closely at as we get closer to 350, just in case that actually comes out a little bit bigger than that 1 million. Or Alpha, can you call out Francois for graduating from the campus program? Hell yeah, I can.
Congrats, man.
Francois, where is Francois in the chat? I haven't seen Francois, but Francois, congratulations for graduating out of the campus program. You know we've been touting it, campus.daytradetheworld.com. We think it's fantastic. That's amazing. Where is Francois? I don't know if Francois is in the chat, but that's great. Welcome to the Day Trade the World family. I'm glad you're able to. For anyone that doesn't know what it is, I don't know if we're supposed to be still tied. Is it still full? Is it full? Okay, well, we'll do it. Might as well. What's even the point in me giving the rundown for the program when we can just all say full. Congratulations to Francois? Is it full already?
I don't know.
I don't think it's saying? Basically, usually this fills up pretty quick. So anyone that doesn't know what it is, we are trading on a Day Trade the World trading floor. That is a prop firm, the biggest day trading prop firm in the entire world. There are hundreds of offices worldwide, but they have the campus program now, and they're accepting applications. And let me just get on here. We already had the last one start. I believe it is February 5th, I want to say, is the deadline for the next group. But it is a full phase learning program for trading, starting out with understanding the markets, then learning the P-Pro 8 platform, which all of us trade on here at Day Trade the World. It is a great platform built by traders for traders. You go into our simulator, which is a fantastic simulator where you can start honing strategies, get one-on-one coaching. Did I mention this is free? It's free. Just like us, it's free. Phase 4 is the one you want, the ability to go live. You go live trading real money, firm capital. You don't put a dime down of your own money. You put in your time and effort with the ability to become a funded trader at the end of the program. Do you have what it takes? Because it's a passion for the markets, a willingness to learn, and about 16 hours a week. You also have to be in Canada. So shout out to you, Francois, who's one of our viewers who has graduated from the program. You got it going on. You took a shot and you won. So congratulations again to you. You can scan the QR code below if you're so inclined, or just go to campus.daytradetheworld.com if you don't like scanning those QR codes, which is an easy thing to do. So I'm thrilled. I love hearing that. One of the things, and all the traders behind here are going to know this to be true, like I really enjoy seeing the success of people that have a passion for trading. And most of the reason for that is because I've been doing this for 20 years. And I started with a group of 20 trainees, out of which we had 6 graduates. Out of those 6 graduates, 4 people had a career in trading. The out of that 4, 3 of us are still in the industry to this day, and we're all good friends. It is not easy, and I would not be where I am today without a prop floor to trade with, without the people that I had the journey with, that entire group, those that made it, those that didn't, and in seeing a lot of people that I didn't think I was any better than, or I had any more, they didn't have any less passion than me, or I think they had just as much potential, seeing them not make it and the reasons that they failed, that's why I enjoy talking to traders about getting better, because I love to see people succeed. You know, like sometimes it can be the most satisfying moment in my entire trading career was when another trader got out of a trading hole. I'm getting literally choked up right now talking about it because I will never forget it. It is outside of the birth of my child and getting married to my wife. I will tell you right now, that's about as happy as I've ever been. And there was about 20 other people on the floor that I promise you felt the exact same thing, because that's what it's like when you all go through the same grind, because it's not easy. But if you have a willingness to learn, you might as well take the journey for free instead of having to pay somebody a bunch of money to go and learn the same types of things. So that's just my 2 cents. I tend to rant about stuff like that all the time, but you know how I roll. Steve G was only 20, just a kid. Was we don't know. I don't know anything about Francois. Are you talking about Francois? I don't know. I have no idea. It's not available in the U.S. I understand that. Hopefully in the future. I know there's a lot of American viewers and a lot of people that want to have that opportunity as well. So all I can tell you is right now, Day Trade the World is not available in the United States. It would be nice if it was, but it is not right now. So
but apparently everywhere else.
Pretty much everywhere in the world. There's offices all over the place. We have Luis Barbado that comes on the show it's like every other week on a Thursday. You'll see him in our Barcelona office. Although I still have yet to visit his office and trade on his floor. And that
would be an awesome experience.
It's 3:30, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. Let's just say if I was vacationing in Barcelona, let's just say for whatever reason I was going to be visiting Barcelona, and there was maybe like a big earnings or IPO that was gonna trade that week, and I'm like, I'm on vacation, but there's a huge trading opportunity. I would probably visit that office, and you can do a visiting trader at Day Trade the World, so you can trade in other offices. All the manager just has to approve it, and you're good to go. I can tell you that Arun did, and that's not to throw any shade on Max or anything for enjoying his vacation. I don't know if he heard that. He sits like literally right. You could see he sits back there. I have no idea if he heard. But he was busy enjoying. I know he was busy enjoying his vacation like he probably should, because that's what you should do when you're young. I didn't when I was young. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on in my career was for the first 10 years of my career, I went on 0 vacations that I wasn't forced to go on because somebody I was close to was getting married. For 10 years, I didn't travel anywhere that wasn't for somebody else to get married, which is ridiculous. I missed a lot of great opportunities. My university buddies went to Egypt, and I was like, I'm not missing a trading week. It's like, yeah. Whatever.
It is what it is. Like you
mistake.
You think it was a mistake?
Oh, of course it was.
But in the moment, you were thinking, I'd rather be here.
I was building my bankroll at the time. Yeah. I was just like, I need to make money. But at the end of the day, it's like what I would have got out of that trip. Like, trust me, like there's always another opportunity. It's just like, visiting Egypt now versus visiting Egypt then is a different story. And I missed a huge opportunity with some of my closest friends when they were young, when we were all really young, and it would have just been one of those things. It is what it is. And I'm not saying it's bad. There's Max. Hi, Max. There he is.
He's zoned in.
He's in the
zone.
It's 330.
370.
370 million to buy right now. So the imbalances are kind of small. Not that big. I'm really just focused on whether or not I get a reload in a firm, which I'm thinking it's a little bit unlikely. It just comes into the chart here. A firm bounced off the low again, so we did short that pop. We're able to get it back in low. You're seeing it's not really doing anything. So either I'm holding now for the break of the bottom. So either we ring the register at the low of the day, or we get a short at the pop. Look, I know I'm trying to not look up here. Max, literally everybody in the chat right now is like, "We love you, Max." I'm just saying that out loud so that he can hear. You guys wouldn't know that. Brankles just yelled out, "We love him more." So there it is. No, Max is still here trading on floor, as you guys can see. You guys sit next to each other every single day.
Yeah. Great experience. Yeah. So yeah, no, going back to the markets here, pretty much flat on the day here, and BAC not really going anywhere there as of right now, but I guess JPM was a much better kind of name to get involved with there, kind of giving you more than a point further down. And like, what was the time I got into this short here? 236. So 236 right there. So where's the 236? Yeah, so 236 might have been a much better place to execute on the JPM there versus BAC. But again, JPM has a much larger ATR than BAC. I'm not really expecting too much. Maybe I don't want to put on as much risk of going into the close with only about like an hour left from the time I kind of put the position out, an hour and a half roughly. But yeah, with the markets kind of closing sideways and BAC is going to close sideways as well, that's perfectly fine. We will piece out of that pretty easily. But yeah, let us know what you guys have been trading on the day. A lot of opportunities, a lot of earnings, beginning of earnings season, pretty much starting off with the banks coming in real hot today across the board there. We can also check some of the other names that had earnings as well that I was specifically watching, Delta being one of them, one of the first airlines to kind of report in the sequence there, and we have sold off quite decently back into that 38 level. Okay, so we have broken down below that, Neil, kind of pushing past this bit of support. Again, this had some RVOL as well this action day, but it doesn't seem like too much was traded when that RVOL was there. But we are pushing past some of those lows. So let me take a quick look further back and see what's the next bus stop right here. Okay, so we're pretty much right there. Kind of a previous high. So pretty how would I want to call this? Pretty messy, pretty congested in terms of like support and resistance levels. They're pretty close to each other here in and around this area. So yeah, I think it's more of an area than a specific, just a price line there. But yeah, let's see how this kind of comes into fruition. Delta Airlines with the short, very, very nice to the downside there, as I've said before. And this is actually not my earnings list.
We got AMD at VWAP right now.
AMD at VWAP, yeah, but with 30 minutes left, I did want to short AMD, fade continuation. I have written down off of VWAP there, but AMD, yeah, held below VWAP.
If you like AMD at VWAP, that might be a trade. The market's doing a red to green thing right now, where you're just essentially going back and forth off those levels. I prefer to have something show me a really good level, and I just jump back at it and be trending in that direction. AMD, and I'm not going to go into it again 2 days in a row that I was looking short on AMD and then somehow managed to miss the top. It is what it is. You move on. There were other trading opportunities. I got to acknowledge, like 2 days in a row, I liked AMD short. 2 days in a row, I took AMD short. 2 days in a row, I didn't make money on an AMD short. You know, like it's the only thing you can do there is assess what went wrong, which I already know, and I know exactly what I have to do about that. I generally tend to pivot to something that's setting up easier in that particular case, which is good because you might make something on the other trades, but also you want to refine your technique. But I'm going to sit this one out maybe at VWAP because I don't think this market is giving us what we're looking for. DJK just said death spiral in Baidu. Really? Is it that bad for Baidu? I mean, death spiral, I feel like when you say death spiral, as this tries to load up here, that's a death spiral. Yeah, that's 100%. That's the gates of hell. That's flushing. That is the timber tree. Oh yeah, that's the thing. It should be in the other direction. Or you should be cutting down the tree. How about like I'd be chopping the tree and it goes down? That actually makes way more sense. It's nasty. It's wild. It is the worst looking chart I have seen today that isn't AMC or Lucid. 7% to the downside. The crazy thing about this on Baidu is it also flat bottom broke just now on the daily chart. 109.5 just got taken out. Why wouldn't this be back at 100, 103, 104, whatever this is on a test next week? There are some charts that speak for themselves, man. Like I look at this and a lot of people like these names, but let a stock show you a bottom and a trend break before you believe in it. If it's, I don't care what it is, like what about this looks bullish? Like it at one point it was looking pretty bullish, and then you can clearly see the trend break down, then the lower lows come in. If it breaks that bottom, maybe you actually see, like imagine this got back to the 70s. You probably would just hammer that long. I don't know if that's going to happen. But there's a difference between that and I always say this chart, Pinduoduo. Like PDD versus Alibaba versus any of the others, it's just there's a very large distinction between them. Some things are in uptrends and some things are in downtrends. I don't need to know much about which company I'd rather own, but if you're trying to pick bottoms, then this is not the stock that you'd be in. But every time for the last year that this sector has come up, anyone wants to talk about Chinese internet companies, I just simply point to this chart. And I could be doing that in the middle of the year, it was true. I could be doing that 2 months ago. It's been true for a very, very long time. Let's get to some other names here as well. There was a lot of people have been asking about, I've been talking about Tesla as well. And this has been the leader. It's not the name that I shorted today, but it has been the name dragging things down. Now you're going to see it bounce a little bit. I feel like there's some profit taking. We're mentioning this about Boeing as well going into the end of the week. So it's probably going to behoove me to take another bid on, like Lucid. Suffice to say, this is probably not going to break $3 again. There's 500,000 shares that I can see on the bid. Actually, I can see 1 million shares on the bid. It's at 01. I can see 1 million bid at 3. It probably doesn't take this one out, but I'll give it a chance. Like I think I'll just punch out manually if it goes above 04. I'll give it a chance on the imbalances then maybe there's a sell imbalance and it breaks 3 and then it can go lower. But you know what I'm going to do on Tuesday? I almost said Monday. On Tuesday, I'm not saying I'm going to short this stock, but I promise you I'm going to at least look for a short setup. And if one happens, I am going to try to get it. No questions asked. When is this? No bounces. One day it's going to bounce, and the day it bounces, that's fine. You lose that day, and that's okay. Thomas Johnson in the chat, how does SoFi play into bank earnings? They have earnings on the 29th. I care about the price action. They report far enough away that I'm not even going to get wrapped up into it. I have a few lines on my SoFi chart, so apologies. This looks more like when I started momentum trading 20 years ago, where I would leave way too many things out there, like this is no longer relevant, so let's just get rid of that. That's what you should do. I don't know how, maybe I care about this channel back in, but that's done. The reason I had this channel was the long off of 8. Like that's where it came from. So there's your downward sloping channel. There was a consolidation at $8. It broke out. Then you're looking long, and then it failed up at that resistance. But who cares about those levels anymore? I'm going to leave the $8 in there because it still feels valid. Maybe the bottom channel, because the overall trend is still there. So the bottom channel is fine. But I think this is the stock that is looking to break down this 200-period moving average. It's selling into the earnings right now. I think when that happens, if it can get to the bottom of the channel before it reports, I'd probably look for a bounce. No questions asked. Like if you sell that far going into earnings, I think there's going to be some people taking profit and looking for a bounce and not having to risk the report coming out. But I don't know that it gets all the way down there in what is now just a couple of weeks. Like it's 17 days away from reporting, so 2 weeks worth of trading. Can it really drop all the way to $6? If it did and saw underneath $6, to me that would be a buy, and then just take the shot. You stop out underneath 550, but that's a long ways away to be thinking about that. But it's definitely on my radar. I actually own this in my long term, but it's the old I'm buying it to hold it forever kind of thing, and don't care.
Yeah, I know that ticker was very popular over the past couple of years, and it's come down and kind of settled in into some I guess base levels. It's basing out, if you want to call it. Yeah, no, definitely a good look there on SoFi. I pulled up the Baidu because you were talking about it there. excuse me. I'm looking for tickers to short, and it's doing some significant R vol as well. Let's take a look down at a lower time frame, and yeah, just look at that. And the R vol is expanding as we push into the close. That's interesting as well on Baidu, and yeah, you can see that those volume candles kind of getting bigger as we push a little bit lower through that 110 as well. But yeah, strong sell-off on Baidu. I was looking for a decent short this morning. Where was Baidu? Nowhere to be seen on my list. So maybe I got to do some better scanning there. But I think I was focused on some of the hottest names on the market. But clearly, I can't catch them all here. My name is not Ash Ketchum, so it is what it is. But people in the chat talking about Mara, Mara kind of. I guess people are disappointed. They're saying that Mara is. I think I saw someone say Mara is the literal is literally Satan or something.
Whoa.
Okay, but maybe getting a little emotional over your position. But it has sold off quite a lot, right? It's down 10 points off of yesterday's highs. Again, a little bit of a sell the news. You can see in anticipation how we've been working up into this ETF release, right? You look at the expanding volume going into it, and we pretty much, this is a weekly chart here. So in anticipation, we did run up. We broke through that $10 level, base of 8 right there. Kind of, if you look left, that level has been kind of an interesting level where the bid has caught multiple times over and over again. Yeah, so a nice base through that 10 into 30s, but a little bit of a sell the news event playing out, right? People can make speculations going into it, whether it's going to be the sell news or not. But with the data that's being printed on the chart, a bit of a selling had already kind of started last week in and around going into the end of December, and we're following through with that bit of selling here with that ETF news coming out yesterday, and that shake and bake with the SEC Twitter. That was pretty interesting as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to say that as it is. I think that's a fugazi, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, we trade price action. The price action was quite interesting. It is, yeah, it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. But yeah, that 30 failure there. We kind of had that reference price to deal with as well, right? You had the SEC come out with that. You had a little bit of a shake and bake, so you can be like, all right, these are my reference prices going forward. The news actually comes out. What do we do with that? I think that was a pop right there.
The larger point is when market makers and big money give you an indication where they feel comfortable making a market, then you listen up. So when you get like some utter nonsense like that happens, just sometimes those wicks are a little bit informative because they basically tipped the hand where the selling was going to be, and then it was just an opportunity. You looked at that aftermarket to fade some of those tops on anything that popped on that sort of fake tweet. But because the market is kind of sideways, and really most of the good opportunities, if you were making money today, had been shorts. Let's be real, at least for myself, I think for most people out there. Let's acknowledge and congratulate and be happy for something that was a little bit arrows up today. It is, well, JC mentioned it at least 2 or 3 times. Microsoft is going to close close to 1% up. The daily chart, make it look as pretty as possible. I want to say at highs. I think at highs right now, it is the most valuable company in the world. You guys will probably fact check me, but I think when it got to the top, and unless Apple is doing something really crazy right now, it might have, I think it's holding on to just passing Apple. That's kind of not that big of a deal, but this is a big deal, how strong this name is. Everything about this is showing you relative strength. The market is very sleepy, and this didn't quite get to VWAP. You know how I feel about afternoon plays and trying to get good prices. So I was looking for short fades here. That's why we went to JP Morgan short. That's why we then shorted a firm. But I wasn't really looking for any longs. I suppose this would have been the one. I hope somebody got that one as they're looking super strong. Mr. Lib says, look at Costco. I'm going to close my eyes and do this. Costco is at highs and looking fantastic because of course it is.
Bit of a stacked offer on.
I promise you, I have not actually called up Costco today. I just know it's at the highs. Of course it's at the highs today. And I bet you, and of course it's at the highs again. Want to know why? Because everybody wants to buy this stock on dips. Trend is your friend, everybody. The trend is your friend. Would you short Costco? You guys short? I wouldn't short Costco. That's a beautiful day. That's a beautiful looking stock. It's a beautiful brand. It's all the good stuff, man. So this is the antithesis of like what we saw with Lucid and some of those other ones. So it looks absolutely fantastic. I can't say anything more than that. The only problem with Costco, if you're on our end, is this is not a very good day trading stock because of the spread. It's done 1.6 million in shares. Like when Nvidia does volume, when it's at $500-600, like that kind of a stock, you can trade that much better than you can trade a Costco. You know, like from my experience, it's just not that easy to trade this one as a day trader the same way that you would try to trade at a similarly priced Nvidia. When Tesla was close to $1,000, like you could trade Tesla up there. Like Tesla was tradable as a day trader up at $1,000. Costco a little bit trickier. I would love for them to do a split. It doesn't really matter if you're a shareholder, but I'd love for them to do a split as a trader. Only 1 minute to go till we got the imbalances. I'm going to make sure I get that loaded up. I'll throw it to you. I'm going to have to jump over to the desk a little bit early so I can prepare for the market recap show. But with 1 minute to go till imbalances, got to start thinking about maybe we won't get a break at the low of the day on a firm.
Yeah, but something that is breaking the low of day, JPM. Hello.
Oh, come on.
I guess down and to the right.
As if.
JPM. 169 coming in as we approach the close. I did cover some of the BAC just holding breadcrumbs into the close there. Let's see how this one kind of pans out. But JPM quite heavy happening there. We got about 20 seconds left for these imbals to come out here, and JPM just printed some fresh lows. Oh boy, do I gotta? This is one for the playbook.
Now you're
Neil.
just rubbing it in.
Not really,
the joke part is I covered the JPM short to get into the Affirm one because JPM wasn't falling the way I was expecting, and then JP Morgan breaks the low of the day, and Affirm is at the low of the day and won't break. That's hilarious. The alarm just went off behind. Why would you have an alarm on the trading floor at 3:50? Anyways, the imbalances just dropped. TLT, 3.4 million to sell. What else? Visa, who cares about Visa? 1 million to the buy side. Some banks, well, Canadian Bank, BNS. Not really seeing any of the big names. XOM is here for 680,000. Lucid is actually a buy. It's not that big, but why would this be a buy imbalance, if anything? I'm not seeing any of the big cap tech names here at all. So it looks like it's pretty faint. There's nothing. These are all pretty tiny. What's the actual look? It's 1 billion to buy. We just got from Brendan the total number. I don't really see anything that stands out. But on a day that has been a little bit heavy, you are getting some buy imbalances. So nothing's going to stand out for me. I did see there's JPM. That's why the only reason I was joking about it, Obi, was, hey, we liked the JPM. It was literally the first thing we liked when we came back on it. Well, at least I did anyways. Shorted it pulled back into 170.25. At that point, the market had made a big turn, and I was like, this is not falling fast enough. It feels a little bit too strong. Affirm has been a weaker stock. Let's get out of this, which then drops another $1.20. And let's get into the Affirm short, which has been working all day for me. And so I pivoted to that one, and then it can't break the low. Sometimes the market does that to you. But you know, I make a judgment call. You know how I feel about things. I'm actually getting out of Affirm in front of the low of the day right now. So I'm just taking that fill. There's a buyer at 65, which is the current low of the day. It wasn't on the imbalance locator. It was 1 billion to buy on the overall. So I'm going to take it. I have to be out of the seat in a couple of minutes there to get prepped for the afternoon, for the aftermarket show. Lucid, oh, come on. What are you doing here? It's actually catching a bit off the, $3. $3 break could get really spicy on Tuesday. And remember, for anybody that does not know this, it is Martin Luther King Day on Monday. The markets are closed. If you try to open the stream on Monday, there will not be one because we're here every single day that the U.S. markets are open. But here's the good thing. If you are interested in still getting your trading learn on, then you will be able to catch the podcast. The podcast drops on Saturday morning. So if you don't leave it a listen, which you should, Saturday morning, then on the holiday, you can definitely do that while you're taking it off. The best thing about these holidays for us is like it's not a Canadian holiday. So therefore everybody we know still has to work, but we have the day off. So I get to drop my daughter off to school, which I don't get to do, which is always fun. And then it's just one of those days where like you don't have to, usually you're making plans because it's a long weekend. Like this is one I can actually it's just for me.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's actually pretty good to have that. Like I love going away for the weekend and having a long weekend with the family, but You do get that opportunity when you trade the U.S. markets, at least for us here in Canada. We could all come in and trade the TSX, but generally you like to take that day off. Nothing against. I'll trade the TSX when it's there every now and then, but.
Yeah, I'm curious. What on those days, right? Because again, like not only it's not only traded by Canadians, right? I'm sure there's other worldwide participants in those markets. But on a day like that, when you have traded, has it been relatively lower volume, or
relatively lower volume,
or is it just about the same?
Okay, now this is not to inflate. This is not to inflate the heads of all of the Americans that are watching right now, but if the U.S. market is closed, all other markets sleep.
Really?
It is like, well, there's a reason you don't know the answer to that question, because if you come in on those days,
well, the door's closed.
Exactly. They probably have the doors locked and don't let the traders in on that day, because you know what'll happen? You'll try to trade the Canadian markets when there's no volume, and as a day trader, you get chopped up. Now, I've traded some of those days. Sometimes if you're really slick and you have a great opportunity, at the open, there might be a really good trade, and it just goes for you because there's not a lot of liquidity. But in a general sense, if you try to make something happen, you're going to get burned. We had a really good trader on this floor. He traded 10 years at a Canadian bank. So he's a very experienced trader. Then he came to our prop floor, and he used to come in on the U.S. holidays. We'd open it up just for him. He's the only guy that would want to trade it. And he would sit there looking for crazy opportunities in the low liquidity markets. But the thing that made him so good about it was if there was no chance, he'd spend his day off coming into the office and not make a single trade if nothing really good was there. And if you don't have that level of discipline, I wouldn't trade the Canadian markets on Monday. And that goes for anything when the U.S. markets are closed. So and I like to. I'm just saying, it's nothing against.
No, I think that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like if you're one of the few people that are on the book on a day where it's low liquidity, an outlier chance might stand out a lot more. Because I like to think of it like this: like normally, if you have you're standing in a cornfield and it's full of people, you're like, all right, well, there's a lot of people here. But if there's less people, you're more able to see something that's like an outlier standing out, and maybe in a less competitive arena, you have a chance.
If something stands out.
The
other side of the equation. So you know that I've on and off traded buyouts for 20 years.
Right.
Right, so there was the one time I was like, oh, I've been making money every single day trading this particular leverage buyout, but after I end this, I'm going to head on over to the desk. I was making money every single day doing it. It was a U.S. holiday. I'm like, I'm going to still trade this. I'm going to go in because I've been making money this and trading on the Canadian market. I went in, made a market, got a fill, and couldn't get the heck out. I took shares, I couldn't get out because there was no liquidity. My levels were right, trading that same way, made money every single day, and I just came in and took the L. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. And you need to have an edge. I didn't have an edge. I was just doing the same thing I was doing when it was regular market liquidity, and thought that would work on a holiday. So that was a mistake, and you learn from your mistakes. In lava news, you're right. Lower volume tends to lead to greater risk. Yes, if you are right, it can move more for you because of lack of liquidity, but overall, you can have more risk. So when the U.S. market is closed, enjoy the day off. I'm going to leave it to you because I got to get over to the desk for the market recap show. It's been an absolute blast, everybody. Don't forget to, after all of this is done, you're going to check that podcast and you're going to check out JC. Make sure you watch that on the rewind. I thought that was fantastic. I'm logging out and head to the desk. See you in a few.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. Again, Neil kind of dropping all that knowledge and advice. I'm always very, very thankful for the effort kind of Neil puts in. I kind of educating not only me but the rest of the floor. Those kitchen talks are very, very blessed. And yeah, a lot of interesting topics from the past and about trading and about opportunities. So yeah, very, very thankful for that. But yeah, we're closing pretty much sideways as JPM finally tests that 169 going into the close. Oh boy, level to level. That's Yeah, I'm definitely, Branko saying getting hyped for 169. Yeah, this is definitely going in my playbook, level to level earnings day trade. And maybe not, I don't think it's going to set up this perfectly every time, but when it does, I do want to be ready for it the next time around. A little bit of a fumble on my part, not staying involved with such a clean kind of trend, a very, very clear selling going on and aggressive. Again, state never really could get back to VWAP, kind of different from some of its other I guess, companions there in the banking sector. BAC, very, very strong, kind of picking right back up. But yeah, one of the bank leaders, JPM, not really showing itself there with the 169 drop. But yeah, let me know what you guys have been trading today. We only got 2 minutes. We only got 2 minutes left. I know the JPM was a hot one on the day. I know Mara. A lot of people are trading crypto-related names. Decent catalysts there on those names. Decent RVOL as well. So definitely a lot of parties to go to across these names here. But yeah, let's see what people are talking about here, as we only have about a minute and some change left on the day. I'm not really seeing any tickers right here. Yeah, Neil needs to write a book. Yeah, definitely. I think that'd definitely be pretty valuable there. Okay, so Paulie D saying, I wish I was short coin from 187. All right, coin is one of the crypto names I haven't really checked out today. So let's take a quick look at coin. I have been busy looking at IBIT, the BlackRock ETF, and also Mara as well. Kind of, if you guys see some of the volume leaders on the day, Mara, one of the few days that it has taken over Tesla. Usually you do see Tesla up there being one of the top volume leaders. It is there, but as of today, Mara definitely leading the way on that. But coin continuation, pretty solid. Yeah, that 160, you're talking about that 160. Yeah, that would have been a banger, kind of a short sell on the news type of trade there, and coming very, very nicely into fruition off of that open right there. But with only about 5 seconds, oh boy, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Totally forgot that timer, but thank you, Adara, for that, for the bell there. But we are now at a close in front of a long weekend there. So thank you all for being here. Hopefully you guys got some value out of the show. A lot of great. Great people here, kind of trying to give you guys as much as possible, right? We explained why I was kind of in some of those trades. My tape is kind of frozen here. That's interesting. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone who makes this show possible as well. But without any further ado, Neil is at the big desk right now and getting ready for the market recap show. So don't go anywhere, guys. Make sure you tune into that show. But I will see you guys around. Take care. Have a good long weekend.
Yeah, here we go. You're gonna hear a lot of that this weekend, but it's not gonna be good for the Cowboys. I'm getting it already out of the way. It's the market recap show. I'm not Sean, I'm Neil, but I'm gonna big up his Green Bay Packers. Let's go versus the Dallas Cowboys. I love me some action in the NFL. You know who I'm repping. It's Buffalo Bills. Are going to do their business. They're going to do that dirty. What an incredible week it has been as everyone's starting to roll back over here. So, look, we had so much happening. You got the Bitcoin ETF. It's happening. It's not. You got the banks rolling. Big failure of JPM breaking out that top today. You've got NVIDIA doing some crazy, utter, ridiculous nonsense on a regular basis. Like, the 500 break on NVIDIA feels like it happened last year, or at least a few months ago. That was just this week. We've had that. We've had crypto. We've had a little bit of everything. We've had down days. We've had up days. We've had CPI. It is a lot to digest. But what you might not have noticed as we get into this market recap, now I've highlighted banks because we all know about the financials, but what in the world is going on with natural gas? Ayo. So we have a certain person on this show, and I'm not going to name any Sharif names, who, believe it or not, was calling for a bottom on nat gas. For real. You bought the bottom, Fabian? No way, because Sharif got out of it. I know he made the call and he had the long, and look at it now it's going to the upside. So when these things trend, they tend to trend, and the trend is your friend to the end when it bends. I don't know where it's going to stop. I know that it's going right now. It's not just that. We got some other things moving around here. You know what's up. You know what we like. I mean, I don't know how much you guys have a little bit of those silver and gold. I saw in the chat today, it was Steve G. I don't know if you're still here, Steve G. You're like, you look a heck of a lot better or something if you had some bling. I'm not a jewelry person. But if I did, then maybe it would cost a little bit more because gold and silver are having a good day. Fancy that. You saw JC come on here and talk about the market cap of gold in general, how much money's in there, and how that could be the end game for Bitcoin. So when you had the Bitcoin ETF sell the news, look what's strong going into at the end of the day today. You're going to get some of those other metals. What stunk a little bit? Well, I mean, we talk about the banks. XLF was red, but you know what's interesting? So you're not going to see it lead, right? Like you're going to actually see the regionals do a little bit worse, which makes some sense to me. Starting out for those bank earnings. And we can get into TAN and how things have stunk. But XLF was a muted down. What I still see here on XLF, and nothing has changed. The last time I talked about this, you're at some historic levels. Let's go back to the weekly chart. It is simply look at the big time support to resistance that was broken out on the financials. So you've got a great looking trend trade, you're still making higher lows, but you're at a crucial point with these earnings coming through. You have yet to break down underneath that 37 support, you have yet to break out above the top of the channel at 38. Now you have to ask yourself as a trader, do you really care which direction it breaks if you're looking to take a shot? Sure, you'd rather be with the trend in it breaking up, but if it breaks back down, is there not some room back into 35? I think you can go either way there. I know Sean likes to short. I tend to say I like the trend, and the good thing about a breakout is you don't have to take it unless it happens. That's why I like it. I'd rather not have to predict where it's going to go. I'd rather just join what's already happening. That's my modus operandi. I'm going to take the path of least resistance. Well, outside of being a Bills fan, I like to take the path of least resistance. Being a fan of the Buffalo Bills is probably not that over the years, but let's be real. I think I'm going to have a fun weekend no matter what. Let's be real about that. So the market overall has been pretty ho-hum back and forth. We cannot review anything without talking about Tesla. Oh my goodness, Tesla, what are you doing? The EVs are they're like the drag on the market right now. The EV names led by Tesla. Tesla under pressure for multiple reasons. You had Hertz basically selling a bunch of their fleet due to lack of demand. You've had the issues in the Red Sea, so essentially supply chain issues for Tesla. That has led to some pause of production in the Berlin plants. Then you've got some labor cost issues going on in the U.S. where they're giving some pay bumps because of pressure that some UAW wins is putting on their workforce. That's a lot weighing on a stock which is already in a bigger downward trend, and you saw a continuation of that with some weakness here today on Tesla. You know how I felt about all of this, which was, and again, everyone can do their own thing, but I felt that Rivian was just an easier short. I felt that Lucid was just an easier short. You get a little bit more bang for your buck in terms of percentage move down. And I've said it once, and I'm going to say it again. If you are a trader, when you see good trends to the upside, you've got to take them. When you see good trends to the downside, I'm going to pop this to a daily chart on Lucid so you can get a better idea. This is why I was short Lucid today and not Tesla. It's very, very simple. Yes, all the EV names are going to the downside, but this is about the easiest trade review of all time. It has been red since 5. It flat bottom broke the 52-week bottom at 360 just a couple of days ago, and it went slowly down every single day into that level. It then broke and it accelerated. What should you be doing when you're trading and you're looking at that sector? You take advantage of the lowest hanging fruit. The market, at the end of the day, your P&L is not going to care what symbol you made it on. Last I checked, at the end of the month when the settlement comes in, it only matters whether your account is up or down. It doesn't matter what stock you traded. So if you've conquered Tesla, I promise you'll probably feel a heck of a lot better about it. I know I fall into that as well. But you're just as good if you short the lower hanging fruit with something like a Lucid. There's absolutely no question about it. I just want to acknowledge a couple of things here. One, it's not roll call yet, but Sam, I love you. Josh Allen for MVP. That's what I'm talking about. I had to. You know how I feel about that. The line's going to control the game. What am I supposed to do? I'm a Bills fan, and you give me a camera to talk in front of, and then you shout out my boy and tell him he's going to be the MVP. You're damn right. Let's go, Buffalo. I'm definitely going to be having a few for that game. Oh, and I saw this, and I didn't get a chance to acknowledge it. I am going to be doing my regular innocent gun and ketchup chips, and then once the game's out of hand, the blue label will come out because that's how I roll for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I don't know when we are going to be ready, but you're going to see in Trader Talk that there's a certain person that all I have to do is put his last name in there, and you know exactly what's up. We had JC come on, a great market technician, to the afternoon show. But we all know one of our other favorite market technicians is the NOS boss. And I'm always excited to talk a little bit about just the overall market, how his trades are doing. And it feels like, Michael, every single time I'm here talking to you, you're about to get pummeled by a storm out east, and I have to ask you to be safe as always. So let's get right on into Trader Talk. Michael, hopefully the power stays on.
Hopefully it's not going to happen right now, but you're right, Neil. We are supposed to get hammered again. I didn't put that connection together, but I might have to start saying no to these after-hours shows because you're putting a little jinx on me and my weather.
Well, the funny thing is, it's not like when you come on and you've done it with Sean, it's like it's never a thing. But the last 3 times that we have done this together, each time, I'm after the show on the way home. I'm always asking my brother, like, how are things? Like, is the storm hitting just yet? For anyone watching the show, Michael Noss out east in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's where my brother lives. So I always am interested. My dad's actually out there visiting him as well. So hopefully all is well out there. So look, it's been a ridiculous week. From Bitcoin ETF, utter nonsense. You've seen, maybe you can talk a little bit about gold and what it's been doing. Maybe as this is the sell the news event has happened. So you've had that, you've had the chips going absolutely ham. You have the financials trying to make that breakout, which we're still waiting for on the back of earnings. You've had the market rallying, not rallying, CPI one way, PPI the other. It's just been an absolute mess of a week, giving great day trading opportunities. So what's the key been for you? Because I feel like every single day has been a different theme, and you're just, as a day trader, that's fine. But in your business, it's almost got to be a little bit challenging for a swing trader.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing more day trading because of it, because that's just kind of what we have to do and adapt. That's something that I actually learned. You mentioned you had JC on the show. So next time he's on, tell him hi from me. We chat all the time. He's a good friend of mine. And yeah, he mentions it all the time. You need to first establish what sandbox you're playing in and try to then adapt a strategy to it. So I've been on the show actually a few times talking about how we have these conflicting seasonality signals, how we're dealing with this overhead resistance on the S&P 500. I can actually bring that up here on the S&P 500 that I think may actually give us a little bit more pause. I've talked about how seasonality from the election cycle, choppy into the beginning half of the year is very common. And then settling that near when the election is completed, or at least people know, give or take, what's going to happen, that ends up being bullish. But for now, yeah, we are hard stuck under this resistance, and it's causing a lot of mess, because what's going to happen is we're going to probably break a bit, and then we're going to pull back a bit, and it's caused by this phenomenon that we all know and we know we shouldn't do, but the whole, if I ever get back to break even on this stock, I'll sell. In this case, it's the index. We were up here before the bear market started, and now we're getting back up here again after about a year and a half of a bull market. So this is causing a lot of overhead supply. So what I've been doing a lot of is nothing when it comes to a swing trading point of view. I talked about this, I think, a couple Mondays ago. I'm going to be more interested in low float and little crazier names than I normally am, just because they're going to be a little bit more market independent. I may be doing a little bit more pullback trading, right? Buying dips and selling rips, that type of thing, and a little more day trading, just because that's the sandbox we're playing in. We break those prior highs, we get through them in a conviction manner, then it's going to be back to the races. But yeah, for now it's about staying patient, staying small, and hopefully not losing too much in the meantime.
Yeah, the thing that I love about that is like when you go to that other time frame, when you get a choppy market up at that top, ultimately you then get a chance to like stock pick, which is what day trading might be. Like you find the things that are actually moving while you're in that market mess, not necessarily having to worry about the market going crazy in one direction or another. You can focus in on those individual names. I'll add one thing in there, that whole thing that we all do about, if we get back to break even or we get back to tops, we'll sell. Not the worst thing in the world to do on really crappy penny stocks when you have the chance. I'm just throwing that out there from some personal experience back in the day, because it's interesting. The very first non like mutual fund or whatever in my personal account that I actually like invested in a stock, because I was a penny stock trader making my bank early, was in a penny stock that I instantly ended up holding the bag instead of taking 100% winner on. And I think you learn those lessons the hard way. But I wanted to, just because I like putting you on the spot, so I always like to get your thoughts, and then the first thing I do is try to talk about something that I don't think you should be prepared for. So
have at it.
I'm not like I don't know what your stance is on crypto. We've never discussed it before, but I do think the first thing that stood out to me outside of natural gas rallying right after Sharif got out of it and called a long, and then he got out of the long, and then it starts going, which happens. We've all been there. Is the fact that we had a good move on gold and silver in the wake of the sell-off in Bitcoin right when the ETFs came in. So you had big run up and everything crypto related, a bit of a pivot from Bitcoin to Ether, but then you've actually seen some strength come into this market. Now, there are fundamental arguments like, gold and Bitcoin should serve the same purpose. Others are money will move from one to the other. I think there's some logic into that as well. I know you've been a bit of a bull and it's done really well for you on gold. Do you care at all about the Bitcoin ETFs and this reaction? Did you see it as a buying opportunity? What are your thoughts here? Because clearly there was a move when Bitcoin pulled back in after here. We did get a move. So there was something there.
I actually took a short on Bitcoin. I know saying that publicly might upset some people, but I am pretty substantially short Bitcoin right now, around 45,000. The reason for that is, as a technician, all I care about is price history. And one of the first tops in Bitcoin was pretty much to the day that the CME offered Bitcoin futures. And one of the second tops in Bitcoin was pretty much to the day when Coinbase got listed. So I figured that it's a potential that we have two major history events of selling the news, that this was also going to be a sell the news event, knowing that a lot of these ETFs have to position well in advance of going live. They need to own that Bitcoin before they can be traded. So I kind of suspected this would be a sell the news event. I did not expect the rotation into gold. But as you've said, I've been long gold for a long time. So I'm taking this short into Bitcoin as a trade, more or less, right? I'm already up pretty well on it. I have my stop over the highs. Whatever's going to happen with that is going to happen. But I do have a chart up here of gold. And this has been a bit of annoyance for me as a long trader, because you can see this resistance area up here, call it 190-ish on the gold ETF. I think it's around 2,000 and something on the actual currency itself. I just refer to gold as a currency. And these topping tails, right? We keep getting up here, we keep getting rejected, we keep getting up here, we keep getting rejected. At some point, we're gonna, I think that we are going to blow through this area. And I think when we do that, it's going to be really hard to get in because it's going to happen all at once. I have no idea what the catalyst for that will be. So as we are dipping, I've been using anchored VWAPs as points to get long. And then as we get to this top, I've been lightening up on some as just a way to trade around this position because I do want to own gold. Again, I'm not the guy to know fundamentally why this is occurring, but I will say for the hardcore crypto people out there that have been looking for institutional participation all this time, thinking that it would cause this massive rally, I don't think that's going to be the move. And I'm actually going to throw this question back at you, Neil, because you, like myself, you know how these institutions have to work. If I have a 1% allocation to Bitcoin, and that's the allocation that I have as a large institution, if Bitcoin rallies, I'm a forced seller. And if Bitcoin drops, I'm a forced buyer to keep that 1% allocation. So what I expect more than anything to happen because of these Bitcoin ETFs is way less volatility to both the upside and the downside to Bitcoin. And I think we're going to have a really calming, steady off because A, you're going to have market makers trading back and forth. B, you're going to have this forced allocation of 1%. So really, I think Bitcoin people are going to have a hard time with chop for an extended period of time. Does that thesis make any sense to you?
It certainly makes, it does make some sense. The one thing I will say, and this is something that actually I won't take credit for this thought because I mean JC was mentioning this, and I've heard many smarter crypto people mention this as well. That to some extent, when you look at the fact that institutional money is going to come in, it's going to go from somewhere else, right? So it's like there will be a rotation, and so it's like what in the regular portfolios is going to shift over to crypto, and in this case, particular Bitcoin. And there's a logic to the whole gold, like limited supply, store value, all that kind of good stuff. Like that's what the logic would state. And so simply looking at that, and then how much money out there is, trillions and trillions in gold, not including the miners, to be able to come into the overall market cap of Bitcoin, to which there is a limited supply, even if there is less volatility. I can see I tend to agree with you. I think you might end up with a case that you might get some. I think some of the ETFs could have some issues every now and then on a trading intraday basis. Sometimes you see that with new issues. But in general, I agree with your thought. But I think overall, the trend can still be to the upside if it takes away from some of those metals. I can tell you personally, when I started investing in my, personally myself, I did allocate some to, like I was one of those money supply people. You can't just have debt forever. I had that phase as well, so I've always owned some gold and silver. And I've traded GDX. I've not really traded miners before. I think I should have followed you in GLD, that kind of a thing. But a lot of that's moved into Bitcoin for me. That's just been my take, but I still think there's a lot of people that will do that as well. So I agree with you on the volatility, but I do believe there's a lot of money that might rotate into crypto because of this. I think that's where the enthusiasm comes from. All that said, they sold the news and went on to the next thing, which would be the next ETF, which was on ETH. And how many times have we seen that in trading? So I think your short makes sense, and I would hope that a lot of people realize that you're not hating on something that they invest in. You're a trader that's trying to make money.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day, that's the only thing I care about, right? That's why I try to actively avoid the news and I don't participate in politics or anything like this, is because I want an uncleared bias of what I think is happening on the chart. So, for a long-term point of view, I would still probably be interested in Bitcoin and crypto. I am very interested, and this is something that maybe you have JC's options strategist on at some point, who again is a personal friend of mine, Sean McLaughlin, because very soon there's going to be something that's happened in Bitcoin that has never happened before, and that is the ability to trade options directly on Bitcoin, because you will be able to trade options on these ETFs. I think that could create a little bit of fun one way or the other. but it could also create cash flow for some of your Bitcoin holdings, because if you are long Bitcoin and you can sell covered calls now against a secured instrument, I think that's going to be really interesting. So as someone who has a little tiny bit of Bitcoin in a hard wallet, in a safety deposit box far away, I think that's something that I may participate in, because if I'm right and Bitcoin's not going to move significantly for an extended period of time, I think there's now a new revenue source open for Bitcoin holders where they can start to sell these options against this position. I think that's going to be a whole nother area that I think is going to be really, really fun.
Well, the interesting thing about, as you say that, because one of our viewers, Mike Zed, just said the Bitwise CEO saying an Ether ETF is not as close and not even on their radars. But like in some of the other tokens you can stake, which of course gets you a bit of a return. What you're able to do now with ETFs and some of these covered call strategies is going to be essentially to do the same thing, which to me logically would, in some ways, I know ETH went up, but it's like, okay, well now Bitcoin ends up being better competition against that. So I actually sold some ETH in this move to the upside personally, because I see it that way myself. But we only have 6 minutes, according to this thing, which is ticking down. We got about 6 minutes left, and I know you usually have an idea to look for next week. I know you're going to be. I know you're always on. Can I ask you a question, because it's a holiday on Monday, and I always feel like I've said this before, kind of tongue in cheek when I'm sitting next to Sean. Why can't we get Michael to come on Tuesday mornings sometimes as well? So I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and enforce that on you. I hope you enjoy your time off when we get market holidays here and there. But next week, holiday shortened week, we've gotten some bankers. Like, what are you looking forward to next week? Can you leave us with maybe an idea? I know you went over some things in the morning. For anybody that's, for whatever reason, not paying attention and watching the show in the morning, you can either recap something or maybe give us something to look for.
Yeah, sure. And hey, email me if you want me on Tuesday. That's absolutely fine. I love coming on. I love talking to markets, and I've always got, between now and Tuesday, I will probably look at least 1,000 charts on different time frames. So I'll probably have some more stuff going there. So here on my screen, I actually have a heat map. I love that we have these in the platform now, and you can do them with your own watch list. So this particular watch list for me is a watch list of just all of the ETFs I look at. And you can see 2 giant squares right above my head right now. UNG, natural gas, and URA, uranium. So I am very focused on the uranium side of things. I mentioned this, I think, the last time I was on with Sean, that I was buying some UEC, and that just was absolutely phenomenal today. I'm still going to keep an eye on some of these uranium ETFs to see if we get some sort of pullback into this range. Obviously, every time you're long and something like this happens, you wish you had more. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this. Now, when it comes to what it is that I'm looking for going forward, I think there's a lot when it comes to short squeeze potential plays. In choppy sideways market, there's this whole saying that you never short a dull market. So that's a little bit what I was talking about this morning, with 2 plays in particular that I'm really excited for. And one's SVV, and this is Value Savers Value Village. Very interesting action today with a little hammer candle. The thing that I like about this is that it's a new IPO, and if we anchor a VWAP from the high, you guys who stay late, you get Brian Shannon all the time. We'll talk about this. I actually spoke with Brian Shannon on a Zoom call today and mentioned this to him. And he liked the look of it. The anchored VWAP from the high on SVV is very interesting. The thing that really gets me on this one is it has a 34% short float. So if we start to get above this kind of $18 a share area on SVV, I really like that. I know if we close back below this anchored VWAP, which is around 16, that's going to be my risk. So I'm risking $2. If this thing even gets to the high of the IPO, we're talking $27. So we're risking 2, and we have the potential to make 10. I'll take those all day long. Another one that was interesting when I was looking through my short float scan that I have here was this CRSP. It's a CRISPR Therapeutics. I was reading a little bit about it. I guess it's all the hubbub about therapeutic stocks right now. But it's got a 21% short float and a pretty significant level here, around $65, give or take. So if this one can hold and push higher, I'm interested in that. Last but not least, go back to the IPO side with the high short float, is BRIK. Birkenstocks. I guess these are shoes. I'm an old man that lives in the middle of Canada. I've never heard of them. But nice looking, interesting bull flag on this one, 26% short float, and really, really high in its IPO range. So the highest the stock has ever been is around 51. Anything over 48, I like the look of this one. Just some names. I think we generally have these short float seasons that seem to happen. It seems like it's a long time since we've had one. So these are just some high short float names that I'm keeping my eye on.
Thank you there, Michael. And we actually have Fugazi Bear in the chat actually thanking you for some of your previous calls that he made some money on. So, you got to put your own trades on, but good ideas are great ideas. And I say that because this morning when you were talking about those low short float names, you heard me talk about how lazy I am, and it would be cool if I just already had that indicator that would feed me some of those. And it literally took 5 minutes, maybe 10 tops, for you to get me that link. So thank you as always. Because
hey, and if anyone in the audience wants that as well, I have the link now, so I can just share it with whoever's a Trade Ideas subscriber there.
Yeah, just bug him on X, because then you can just copy. You can get it on that layout. I find it's just it's easy because I use TraderTv every single day. If there's a really cool scanner, instead of having to figure out how to do it myself, we have Michael as our resource, and he's going to help us out there. In addition to finding some fantastic ideas. So look, I hope you enjoy the long weekend. I know there's a big storm coming, and the East Coast usually gets a little bit wild. So cross those fingers. I hope all goes well. It usually does. But best of luck this weekend with the storm. It's a pleasure having you on, and we'll talk to you next week.
I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot there. Alrighty then, we got about a minute here. I know we can push it a little bit longer. I'm looking at Ram there as she chuckles over it, because I like talking to Michael, so we're gonna get a little bit more into it there. But I gotta give our rundown. We gotta do it. We got to do the roll call. Let's go. Who do we have here? I know I see you, Darwin. He says thank you as well. Darwin saying thank you to Michael as well. Thank you, Julio, for staying late there. Altman saying thank you, Michael. Pillsbury as well. Monty in the house. Bears versus Bulls. We love you. I got some words for you at the end here. Talent 103. CompuCare team. God bless you as well. KNT talking about some Bitcoin. Hey, we're all talking to Bitcoin as well. Toilet Brush. Holla. You want to know your point total? Give him 1,000 points for having the name Toilet Brush in there. I always like it when it's fun. Zippy Zane in the house. Henry in the house. Jody, Virginia. Tom's Trades. Hey, we see you all the time. We love you. Monty G. Drift R. Bbot 5000 dropping some sirens on us. Aaron Scott Matthews. That just sounds like you know what you're talking about, Aaron Scott. When you get the 3 names, it's just better than 2. As always, Tango Sierra, Trader Lucy, Vanilla Man in America, Carly, what up? Driftar, Shining Bright, Starvin' Like in the house, and of course, Sailor Moon saying, Go Lions, one pride. Now look, I know we're done, and I don't have anything against the Lions. You know what? I got 2 things I got to say before we get out of here. One of those is a very humble and chilled out, Go Buffalo Bills. We're going to handle business on Sunday, and I'll be drinking that Blue Label 100% because we're going to win. The second thing I have to say is it's a long weekend, so if you're tuning into the show every single day like you should, then you know every single Monday we start you off with a great show. There is no market open on Monday, so just check out the podcast either tomorrow or on Sunday or on your day off if you're a trader and you got one. Most people are going to have that day off. Why? Because it's MLK Day. Now, what I was going to do at first was I was going to do like an MLK quote to end things off. He has so many of them, and all of them are so inspiring. Then I had a conversation with some traders today. Actually, Obi referenced this, and we were talking about some things. And I decided to say 2 things about this, because I think the spirit of MLK is really just about love and kindness and caring about others. Right? So there's 2 things I wanted to say. One is something I say to my daughter every time she gets scared. And that is, no matter what you see or hear in the world, there are more good people than bad. And if you ever wonder how people with the courage and will and kindness of like Martin Luther King Jr. or any of his ilk, and I could name a million, but I'm not going to because we're focused on him at the moment. If you wonder where they get that from, it's because of the faith they have in the goodness of other people. right? So remember, no matter what you hear in the news, no matter what talking heads tell you, no matter what it feels like, there are more of us, and that is good people like I see in our community that care about each other than there are bad. At no point in human history has that not been true. And as long as you have that, then you're going to be in a good place, and you cannot feel down about the world. I never feel bad about the world because I always remember that that is going to be true. And the second thing is, and why you hear me go on rants like this all the time, because I truly believe this. This is not my quote. I actually don't remember who gave this quote. It's something to the effect of, if you care about others, then you will tell them what you think. That means speak the truth. If you care about yourself, you will tell people what they want to hear. One of the things that I love about this show is we just tell you the truth, we just show you our trades, we just tell the market like it is, and that's it. And we leave that for you because we care about traders doing well in their trading journey, because I've seen a lot of traders succeed, I've seen a lot of traders fail. We care about each and every single one of you like you should care about everyone in our community and outside, because that is the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. MLK Day is about love. That's about it. You don't really need much of anything else. So I'm going to leave you guys with that, and you can ponder with it. As I said, you're going to still check out the podcast on Saturday, but I hope you reflect on some of that and have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you back on Tuesday for some more wild trading, but enjoy your long weekend, everyone.